All right, hello everyone, and welcome to day 5 in our Discovery Series, biggest Black Friday sale event ever that we've done here at FDN. And what we are doing in this Discovery Series is letting you discover FDN. You get to see what it's like to be a practitioner, what it's like to be a trainee, a graduate, all that good stuff, and everything in between. So we're super glad to be here with you guys. I'll give a second as everyone gets tuned in. Perfect. I see some numbers going up. Nice. If you are tuned in and you can hear me, please drop a hello in the chat. You kind of know the drill by now. Give me a hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you have somehow made all the sessions so far, I don't even know what number we're at. I guess this is 9. That would make sense, I think. Then drop a 9 out of 9 in the chat, or if you somehow know how many sessions you made out of 9, some people have been very good at tracking this. You can let me know that in the chat as well. For our lovely panelists today, I should have given you a heads up. I think everyone wouldn't know this except maybe Elizabeth. There is about a 30 to 60 second delay on Restream. So when we ask a question, or if you guys were to ask them anything for whatever reason, it will take about 30 to 60 seconds to come up. So yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. Have you made all the sessions? We got a cool little double session for you today. We will stay on this stream and do this, and then this will be the only events that we're doing today for day 5 of the Discovery Series. So we're going to be doing this mentor roundtable. These are not graduates or trainees. I mean, I guess by definition, you guys are all graduates, but it's not the same as a grad roundtable. We're giving you an opportunity to meet some of our course mentors who are actively mentoring trainees in the course right now. So do I have questions for them? I 100% do. If you guys would like to ask your questions, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to ask anything that you have. This would be different than the trainee and grad roundtables in that I kind of still ask my questions, but incorporate yours where I can. Whereas in this case, if you guys ask a question to these mentors, I will prioritize that because we'd rather hear from you all. Once we are done this mentor roundtable at the hour, we will move right into a course tour. So I want to say this correctly. It is a pre-recorded version of our course tour, but we are streaming it live. So we've done the video before, but we are streaming it live. We just couldn't manage to get everyone involved that was necessary to do the live portion of it today for you. So I'll still be here in the chat answering questions and all that kind of stuff. But the course tour, what that does is it lets you see into our world literally. Like you will actually get to see what does the course look like? What does it look like to log into FDN? What are the modules? What do I learn in each one? We're actually going to go through all of that so that you can see what typically only someone who's already enrolled and signed up for the FDN course can see. Again, the whole point of the Discovery Series is we want you guys to be able to make an informed decision. We've had many people already sign up in the last week, which is great. Normally everyone signs up like last second on Black Friday. So our biggest Black Friday sale is going well here. And then the last housekeeping things I will say is, what is the sale, Ev? It's $2,000 off the FDN course. You don't need a special code. Don't even need a special link. It has been live on our website since November 10th, and it will be live until the end of the day on December 1st. The end of our day is California time, so 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. If you hate time zones, it's just 11:59 at night in California. On December 1st, that is when it will end, and it will be a little strict because we gave 2 or 3 weeks warning. So that is that. And then in terms of the replays, everyone's been wondering, can I get replays for this? I know that you guys typically do replays for your other events. Yes, and normally with other events, we have to charge. With Black Friday and with the Discovery Series, there is no charge for this whatsoever. The replays are, we kind of have a way that it's done for you a little bit nicer in a playlist, but technically speaking, they are instantly available after each live session is done. So please make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube. It's in the bottom right corner of your screen. You'll see a little click now to subscribe button. It won't show up for the mentors here, but it will show up for those that are live. And the reason that you want to subscribe is because under our live tab on our YouTube, so not under videos, not under shorts, under the live tab, you will be able to instantly see what we've done throughout the week. If you need something to do this weekend, please go check out the keynote by Kelsey Weaver that was done on November 10th. That was phenomenal. She went through like 5 or 6 different courses before finding FDN. And then, well, I won't spoil it. Let's just say she had a pretty darn fun month the first month that she was an FDN graduate. So I will stop us there. Hopefully that covers all the housekeeping things. I see a lot of people saying hello. Well, a little shy today. We got to get some more people saying hello. And I know it's early. I know it's Friday, but let me know what's going on. Okay. First and foremost, we are going to go around and introduce ourselves because these are some faces that you might not have seen yet. Some of you might have seen Elizabeth, but Elizabeth, if you don't mind, we'll still go around with you. So everyone should see each other in the same order here. So I see myself, Christina, Nicole, Kurt, and then Elizabeth. So that is the order that we will do these questions. So Christina, let's just start off with this. What were you doing before FDN, and how long have you been a course mentor? What were you doing before FDN, and how long have you been a course mentor?
Before FDN, I worked in financial services. I worked in compliance. So I did both trading for a while. Then I did compliance for probably the last 10 years before moving into this field. I actually started off going to IIN, which I think a lot of our trainees have done. And it was good for coaching, but I really wanted to dive deeper. And I found FDN to have the full package of not just the education, but really how do I put all of that education together into something that I can use as a business. And then they also teach you how to actually turn it into a business. So it was pretty amazing. I've been a mentor since 2022. I think 2022. So a little while.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. Nicole, we'll go to you next. It is such a rare day that I am able to pull you out of stuff and get you on something. So I love being able to have you on this. Thank you for being here with us. So if you could just introduce yourself, let us know what you were doing before FDN, and how long have you been a course mentor?
But prior to FDN, I was a clinical and holistic nutritionist. I had gone to school for that, gotten a master's degree in nutrition, and done a lot of different trainings, like you were alluding to the keynote speaker. But I was looking to go a little bit deeper with clients. I felt like, the general recommendations and health coaching tools that were given in these other training programs are great, but they only get you to a certain point. And I felt like I was looking to dive deeper with clients and really individualize the strategies and protocols I used with them. So that's what led me to FDN. And I have been a course mentor, I think, since 2022, like Christina. So about 3 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. All right, Kurt, you are next. And Kurt actually is a face that some of you guys might have gotten to see before if you've been on our 5 and 5 workshops or some of the other things. I feel like, Kurt, you're always down to be a guinea pig for these, so we really appreciate that. But if you could just fully introduce yourself, let us know what you were doing before FDN, and how long have you been a course mentor?
Sure. So I have been, prior to finding FDN, I was in the corporate marketing world for branding, so helping businesses come up with an individual identity. And while I was doing that, I was always meddling in the chiropractic world as chiropractic assistants and things like that. But I've always been fascinated with the whole health space, and I got introduced to seeing some lectures from Reed many, many years ago, but the timing was never right to actually join FDN and become an FDN myself. And it wasn't until a family member was having some chronic health issues, and I was seeing a lot of the medical gaslighting that she was experiencing that made me decide to, this is the route that I need to take. And once I became an FDN, I left that marketing world and the branding world, and I fully dove into the world of functional health and skincare and skin health. And I've been an FDN mentor for 2021, I think, 2021, around there, and love it. It's been a life-changing decision for becoming an FDN, working with FDN. It's been life-changing, not just for me, but everybody I've worked with, family members, friends, everything like that. So it's definitely a chain reaction that happened when I found FDN.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Kurt. Elizabeth, so for those that don't know, Elizabeth is here as our education director, but she also helps to kind of influence and structure a lot of the things that are happening in the world of mentors. And then, of course, you were a course mentor first. So, Elizabeth, for those that haven't gotten to see you somehow, if you could just introduce yourself, briefly let us know what you were doing before FDN. And then I can't even do this timeline. So let us know the timeline for your different positions here at FDN.
Oh, it's a blur now, but I'll do my best, Ev. So before FDN, I was languishing in the clutches of chronic fatigue. But that was caused by a decade of work at a nonprofit serving victims of domestic minor sex trafficking. So didn't have good boundaries. I needed to be needed, and that led to severe physical symptoms. And I had the experience that many of us have had, where I couldn't find answers in the standard medical world, as Kurt calls it, medical gaslighting, where I was told it was just all in my head. So I found the FDN program, I went through and became a mentor in 2020, and then sort of worked my way up to my current position, which is education director. And it is really my pleasure to shine the spotlight on these beautiful mentors that are part of our program. They are the backbone of what we do in the certification course. They are incredibly dedicated, they are well trained, and I take a lot of pride in the program that they uphold.
Awesome. Quick follow-up that's relevant for you, just so people understand. We have more mentors than are just on today. Not everyone can make it, and also it'd probably be way too much to have everyone. So how many mentors do we currently have?
We have 10 currently, and we are actually in the process of hiring a few more.
Awesome. That's great. Really cool. So, by the way, I didn't tell you guys this. How we do the roundtables is I don't like to pick on the same person first each time. So we go reverse order. So, Christina, don't worry, you get a break for this one. But Elizabeth, you're right back to it. So I would like to know, and there might be some redundancy in some of these answers. That's fine. I still think it's really important to hear. I'd like to know, what is the importance, in your guys' opinions, even as mentors yourself, what is the importance of the mentorship in FDN? Because there's a lot of online programs out there. This is not like uncommon now. FDN, ironically, was doing this online course thing long before this was a normal thing to do. You know, I mean, he's been teaching this online, I think, since he moved online 2010, 2011. Like, no one was doing online courses and curriculums back then. And so my point is, though, now it's super popular to have an online course. I know of almost none that provide one-on-one mentorship. At best, you can get group support, which we certainly have here too. But it's very rare that you find something that, hey, we're going to actually meet with you one-on-one, let alone meet with you one-on-one many times over what ends up being usually a 2-month period here at FDN while you're training. So why is that so important to FDN? Because I feel like this would be a completely different program if we didn't have that, and I think it might screw some people up. They almost need it here because of the rigor of the curriculum. So, how do you see, or what do you see as the importance of mentorship to this program and the success that we have, Elizabeth?
What a great question, Evan. Thank you. So we do have an online course, and we don't have cohorts that go through because we want you to be able to go through at your own pace. So some of you want to buzz through and become practitioners in the shortest amount of time possible. And some of you want to stay a little bit longer and marinate in the information. And we don't feel that we produce good outcomes by dictating how long that process should take. So we are committed to having a self-paced program. But we do want to make sure that our practitioners are the best practitioners out there, that they are the smartest practitioners in the room, that they are able to critically think, and that they have a process in place that is going to carry them through their entire career as a functional health practitioner and allow them to evaluate and get repeatable good outcomes on any health condition that walks into their virtual office or their physical office. And the compromise that we've made there is mentorship. And so you are always your first client in the FDN program. So you're going to run all the tests that you learn on yourself. You're going to be able to look at those results, be able to work with the protocol, and then you're going to have mentorship around your results because nobody is as interesting as ourselves, right? So that's always a great place to start. And particularly for somebody like me that came in with an intractable health issue, that was really critical to me actually overcoming it using the FDN methodology. And then I became a product of the product, as it were. And that gave me the confidence to go out and then say, if I did this for myself, I can do this for others because I've already seen success. I've already had success. And mentorship is key to that, sort of walking through it with a mentor who says, yeah, and did you think about how this lab connects with this one? Or did you think about this part of the protocol and how you might be able to address this in a more multifaceted way? Now, on top of that, we really care about your clinical process, and we really care about the way that you are utilizing our methodology, because that's the thing that keeps you from having to reinvent the wheel every time. is you just do the process. You do the process ABC. And not that every client is the same, because they're not. Everything has to be tailor-made to the client. But the process is the same. You don't have to sit and think, what labs do I do with this person? What kind of protocol should I run with this person? What do they need supplements? What for? Like you will learn sort of the whole process of that, but it takes some time, and it takes a critical eye of somebody who is seasoned in the methodology and somebody who is seasoned in teaching the methodology to make sure that you are getting it, and to make sure that you don't have blind spots, and to make sure that your critical thinking is on point, and to make sure that the method is coming together for you in a way that is going to make sure that you are the best quality FDN practitioner that you can be.
Well, that was an awesome answer. It did cover a lot. So again, there's no worry at all if there's any reiteration or redundancy in answers. Just curious for everyone here. So Kurt, we'll go to you next. I mean, how important do you think the mentorship is here, and why is it so essential to kind of make FDN what it is?
I think it comes back to the fact that it's an online course. Excuse me. And when you're in that online course, you don't have that touch point of that one-on-one connection with mentors or anybody to help guide you. It's online courses are typically watch this presentation, take a test, and then what you did with that is kind of up to you. The mentoring that FDN provides is giving you that real world connection. I'm always saying that you can have 3 FDNs in a room and you're getting 3 different protocols for the same person. And so the great thing about the mentorship is, like we've already said, there's now 10 plus mentors, and you get to see different perspectives. You get to see one of the live calls we have for trainees to attend is where we get to talk about supplements, and you get to see multiple perspectives of how they're making these recommendations. You get to see multiple perspectives of what they are looking for in lab testing or protocols or something like that. And so that mentorship is really valuable to where you're actually seeing that real world connection of how it comes together. Elizabeth had mentioned that you're going to be your first client as an FDN. And that is the most important part, because then it's very personal. It starts becoming very, there's an intimate connection for you at that point, because you're now talking about the pain points that you're experiencing and the problems that you're experiencing. And I think what makes great FDNs is the fact that there's so much empathy. When a client is working with another FDN, that FDN can be sitting across from them saying, I get it. I understand what you're going through. I've gone through a similar thing, and this is the journey I went through. So I'm going to, bypass that for you and just skip straight to what helped. Whereas if you went to any other health practitioner and said, I'm having these digestive issues or these period problems or anything like that, very rarely will that practitioner say, oh yeah, I get that. Me too. It's just you're another number. Or you're another client, you're another number, and then here's a generic protocol that's given to everybody, and you're moving on, kind of just cattle calling them. So the mentoring just gives that opportunity for you to practice with somebody, to practice that real world implementation of the FDN approach, where you're not just reciting or parroting what you've learned. You're actually doing that critical thinking to try and think through what's going on. The best part about the mentorship program is you get opportunities to make mistakes. You get opportunities to kind of get corrected and course correction on how you need to make changes. And that's what makes you a stronger practitioner coming out of it.
Awesome. I always love how you bring up because I hope people really caught that, especially the ones that are new this week. I know Dawn's on, so welcome, Dawn. She's still looking into the course and is trying to probably figure all this stuff out. And probably many people on here are. So you said that if you have 3 different FDNs in the room, you get 3 different protocols. That is, I hope people caught that, because that is not a bad thing. That is the point. Those protocols are all still going to work just fine. We're still going to get this person better than they've ever been in their life, which is great. But because we're not just saying, hey, here's some cookie cutter approach to your points, we're going to teach you how to think. It's kind of like the what's that fishing analogy, right? You give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. I would say it's very similar here at FDN. Like, you learn how to think about these things so that labs can change, a supplement company can go out of stock or out of business, and yet we can still be effective as FDNs, which is really cool. So thank you, Kurt. Nicole, you are next. So what's the importance to you of the mentorships or the mentors here at FDN, and like, why is this so essential to our process and the success that we have?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Kurt said. I think for me, it's really turning theory into practice, because I've done a lot of online trainings, and you take the quiz, you listen to the module, you take the quiz, and you get a certificate. But you don't really know what to do with the information, right? It just all stays theoretical. And if you don't use it, you lose it. And so what I love about the FDN program is we really teach you how to take the course concepts and apply them in real life with people. And as you go through the course, like Elizabeth said, you're going to start as your own client, run labs on yourself. We're, as mentors, going to take you through your own labs, make sure you understand how to interpret them and how to create a protocol for yourself. And then as you go through the course, you're going to do that 6 times before you graduate. And so by the time you graduate, you know how to work with a client in real life. And I think it also is about meeting you where you're at. So whether you're already a seasoned practitioner and you've been in practice as a health coach or a chiropractor or a naturopath, or whether you were in a completely different career, it doesn't matter. We as mentors can meet you where you're at, make sure that you understand the course concepts, and we want you to succeed. That's what we're here for. And I think that's what makes the mentorship very unique compared to other trainings, is that we can help guide you through. We want you to succeed. We're here to make sure you thoroughly understand the course concepts and can apply them successfully in real life.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Christina, last but certainly not least, what about you? What's the importance of all this mentorship here at FDN, and why is it so essential to our success as practitioners?
I think one of the coolest things is that you do have that one-on-one time. What course do you take where you get one-on-one time with a teacher? Right? Like, you can go to college courses, you can do all the online courses, you might get a group chat maybe, but this is like really one-on-one interaction. And like Nicole was saying, we're meeting you where you are. So it's usually like, so what did you do? How did you get to FDN? What do you think? How's it going? I came from completely different background, so I often have people coming through and they're like, I'm totally new to this. I'm like, it's totally fine. You could still do this. And it is about taking extrapolated information, putting it into a cohesive package, and being able to walk somebody through that. And I just want to stress that we do teach supplements, right? But we also are talking about diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, such important pillars of how you change your lifestyle to improve your health. And then we use that supplementation and teach our trainees, how do I apply supplements? How do I bring someone on board? And how do I help them come off of supplements? Because we're not trying to be supplement dealers. We want to teach you how to use them correctly. You're going to have a handful that you might use into the future, but you're also going to have a handful that you're going to use specifically to help you get back on track. And as mentors, right, we're able to really help make that transition of how do I go from sick to well care? How do I take all this information, put it into something, and make it very specific and unique to a person, while it's still like a foundational program that really addresses all those 5 pillars.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. All right, I'm going to go to the audience really quick here, and I do have to glance over to my computer, so I'll put the chat on the stream just so you guys can see all this stuff. Someone said my nerd brain will love that and hopefully heal some of my own autoimmune issues. Yes, I mean, obviously I can't make any claims there, but I will say this. You know, we have over 465 podcast episodes and counting right now, and there have been many FDN practitioners who have gotten on there. And again, I'm not making a claim. I'm regurgitating their story. They had autoimmune symptoms. They no longer have the symptoms. So you make of that what you will. Kind of interesting. Let's talk about this. Do you know what percentage of trainees actually launch a practice versus gain info and healing for their own life? I don't have those exact numbers offhand. And I don't know that. I mean, Elizabeth, you probably know better than me. We don't track that specific thing of how many people are going into each path, right?
No, we don't. We don't track that. We do have a professional society that people who are serious about building a practice and building a business join after graduation. And I think we have somewhere around an 85 or 90% attrition rate of leaving the course and going into the professional community. But I don't know what that means in terms of people actually opening practices versus their own health.
Yeah, and so if I had to guess a rough matter, it's so funny. I was reading the last name and my mind went to matter for some reason. A rough number, a rough estimate. I would say nowadays with who we're attracting, I would say at least 50% are at least trying to get into the practice side of things, if not more. And I think that's because of what we're doing on the front end. And for those that don't understand that front end, I mean like front end marketing, things like this. We're generally setting the stage for people that, hey, there's a really cool opportunity here to do this as a practice, to do this as a business. It's one of the most fun journeys that you'll ever go on, because I wish people saw the business side the same way that they saw the health side, because they don't generally see these as identical. If I have a chronic health issue and I get to the point that that chronic health issue is resolved, am I the same person once it's resolved as I was at my sickest? Everyone universally agrees that the answer is no. You are a different person now, a better version of you. You had to become that individual to get to that resolution. So we all like that kind of stuff. We like the challenge of figuring out health issues. We like the challenge of becoming someone better. Entrepreneurship is the same thing. And even though entrepreneurship's tough, I'd argue that it's significantly easier than overcoming chronic health challenges. I've been through both. I would choose the entrepreneurship over health challenges any day of the week. But you cannot become, or you cannot be rather, the same person if you have a multiple six-figure business where people are employed by you as you were when you did not have that. You have to become someone different. So it's a really cool journey. The reason that's why I'm saying I think it's over 50% now, or at least trying to do that, is because we're sharing messages like this and showing that this is not just something to get a paycheck. It's who you become in the process and who you get to impact in the process. So good question there. Probably gave you more than you bargained for. I'll go for, one comment and then one more question. I don't want to ignore that other question that got asked at the bottom. Melissa said the opportunity to meet one-on-one with mentors throughout the program and their incredible amount of knowledge and experience individually was one of the reasons I signed up for the course. Thank you very much for sharing.
I just want to shout out Melissa. She's an excellent trainee. She comes to a lot of live calls. She participates. She's in the Facebook group. She's really taking the experience and getting everything that she possibly can out of it. So good job, Melissa.
Well, she's on all this too, so she's literally getting all of it that she can. So thank you, Melissa. You rock. We love having you. And then just a quick question, because I don't remember this being the case, but I'm an old enough FDN that I remember when our mentorship calls were one-on-one phone calls and not Zoom things. So are these recorded now or no?
Yes, they are recorded. You can absolutely have access to a recording of your sessions if you want it, and I highly encourage that. I find that a lot of trainees only record their personal health sessions, but I think all the practicals are valuable to be recorded, and I encourage that for every trainee.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I just remember Brandon Mole calling me, I think it was Kentucky or whatever, and you get that awesome Brandon Mole Southern accent. So yes, that's what I was doing back then. Okay, next question here. I think this is super important for the people that are about to consider getting into this course, or they already know that they're going to, but they're just going through some of the events still this month. Christina, we'll start with you for this one. I would like to know now, because you guys have all been mentors or at least worked with trainees for a long time, multiple years. So you have done many sessions. You've probably seen certain characteristics in people that have had a lot of success with this stuff. They were prepared and ready to go. And then you've probably seen some characteristics or things that are like, oh, we could have done a little bit better here. So my question directly, Christina, is what would your advice as a mentor be to someone who's just starting off in this course to have the most success on their practicals, on their mentorship sessions? How can they best set themselves up from day one going through the course so that those sessions are as smooth as possible? Because I know nowadays, I love the training group. I would never take it away. It's just in anything in life, there's pros and cons. The only downside I can possibly see to the training group is people get so nervous now for these and they share it and then they make everyone else nervous. Like I didn't have that back then. Like no one was making me nervous because I didn't get to talk to anyone else except Brandon. So I never even thought to be nervous. And now I read some of the stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'd be a little scared if I saw some of these things. So how can they best be prepared, in your opinion, Christina, start themselves right from day one of joining the course?
I think the best thing to do is to go at your own pace. Don't rush the process. Sometimes I think that's one of the things that I see where people suffer is they're rushing through. And when they get to their practicals, they're really rushing through. And your practicals are where you get to take all the things that you've learned and put it together. It's also where you find out what you need to revisit. And I try to tell people that as they're coming through, just trust the process. As you are getting ready for your practicals, you're going to find out what you don't know if you use the outlines and go back and follow what the outlines are telling you to do. Don't get caught up in the Facebook group too much, right? Because I do think it can sidetrack you. I do have people coming in and they're like, I am so nervous. And normally I'm like, let's just take a moment. Let's just take a breath. It's always good for all of us just to pause for a moment and take a breath and just reset yourself and keep going, right? You've got to keep going, but don't second guess yourself. Don't overdo the work, right? So go through it. I think Elizabeth's recommendation is you go through the material once, you go back and re-listen. So just listening, right? Not trying to take notes, not doing all those other things. Then start the process. I usually tell people, give yourself about 10 days between each practical. That way you have time to prepare yourself. Don't get ahead of the game. Don't start looking at other practicals before you get done with the one you're working on. And then I also tell people, if you can, like take notes of where you found the information so that when you're ready to do your written, you can quickly go back to those modules, those slides, and fill in your answers, and you don't feel super panicked about now I have like this big written that I need to complete and not knowing where to find the information.
Awesome. Great tips. Thank you. All right, Nicole, what about you? So how can someone, they're just joining into the course this week or this month, how can they best set themselves up so that they are ready for these mentorship sessions and the practicals?
Yeah, I agree with Christina. Like going at your own pace is really key. I think not letting perfection be the enemy of the good. You know, you don't have to be perfect. So many times trainees come in and they're so nervous because they think they have to say everything perfectly and not make a mistake. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you work through concept that maybe you're not quite getting, or you know, if you miss something, that's totally okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to show you where your blind spots might be. We're here to make sure that you fully understand the concept. So I think that, and also to take advantage of all the resources that are available in the course. I mean, when I went through the course, like you, Evan, it was a phone call. There weren't, you know, we have trainee study hour every week with Kurt and Elizabeth and Reed, where you can show up and ask questions and talk to your peers. There's the supplement squad call every month that Kurt mentioned earlier. There's a new trainee orientation call. There's lots of opportunities
There's hot
for
topics.
you to
Don't forget
interact
hot
with the
topics.
staff one-on-one. Oh, hot topics. The one thing I hear from trainees, and I think you guys would agree, hot topics is everything, right? This is where Elizabeth meets with trainees once a week to go through each module of the course. And she has a very unique gift in being able to translate that information into a way that you can easily understand. So that's incredibly helpful to trainees. I've constantly heard that. So I think, yeah, I think just be prepared, go at your own pace, take advantage of the resources, and just show up prepared, but also take the pressure off yourself. And it's okay if you make a mistake.
Thanks for mentioning that part about not looking for perfection. That is a common theme I see in the people that get nervous. And I also, the reason that this matters a lot, Nicole, is because I see this more on the graduate side, because you know that's who I work with more.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to help out with the businesses and all these things. And like we'll get people on the calls sometimes that are like, oh my gosh, guys, I've done a bunch of sales. I'm not making fun of anyone. I mean, I actually feel bad, but they're like, oh my gosh, I've done these sales calls and no one signed up for my program yet. And I'm like, how many calls have you done? Right? I just start getting into numbers. How many calls have you done? Let's look at the data, whatever. 4. And I'm like, so you've done 4 calls. Have you ever taken a sales call in your life before? No. So you've done 4 and none of them have worked out, and you're distressed about this. And they're like freaking out. And guys, the reason that this same quality is so important to have in the course is because it's going to apply in entrepreneurship. I think many people that get into the world of FDN, some people are starting later in life. So they might have worked a job or a 9-to-5 for 20 years. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm working a 9-to-5 right now at FDN in a sense, right? Well, certainly a modified 9-to-5, that's for sure. But let's call it a 9-to-5. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that in that setting, I'm not allowed to be wrong 50% of the time at FDN, right? Like, they're nice people, they like me, but like if I was wrong 50% of the time in my job, that's a problem, and I might not be here anymore. Whereas in entrepreneurship, I could close 25% of my sales calls, which everyone always forgets this part. That means 3 out of 4 people that get on with me say, no, I don't want to do this. 3 out of 4 do that. And I'm still a successful FDN, right? So you, especially if you're planning on doing the business side after this, forget perfection. There is no perfectionism in business. Does not exist. You can try to the best of your ability. That'll never happen. And if you're somehow closing or selling at 100% rate, then you need to be on the lives, because I want to learn from you. No one's doing that. So you got to give that up and learn to make progress and improvements and not perfection. So thanks, Nicole. By the way, you can't get a 25% on the practicals. You do have to do a little better than that. But you can do that on sales calls once you're done and good to go. So Kurt, what about you? What piece of advice or pieces of advice would you give to someone who's just starting this training? They want to be as prepared as possible for all the practicals. What have you seen that allows someone to be truly successful and ready for those things?
The successful component to it is, like Christina was saying, the go at your own pace. And I feel like it's a common theme because Nicole validated that as well. But, don't compare yourself to how other trainees are going through the program. Some may go through a lot faster. Some may go through a lot slower and take their time with it. You go at your own pace. And that's the great thing about the FDN program is we really cater to everybody's learning style. And so for me, going through high school and grade school and stuff, I had dyslexia for maths, and numbers were really goofy and backwards for me. And so I had a very unique learning style. And the thing that I found going through these other programs, because I've gone through many coaching programs over the years, is they have that very direct, this is the material and you need to chew it up and digest it, and that's it. FDN provides so many different resources, like Elizabeth with Hot Topics, like these other live calls that we're doing, where it caters to the many types of learning styles that are out there. So not comparing yourself to the pace that another trainee is going through the program, doing this at your own pace, but taking advantage of those resources, because I have met trainees who haven't taken advantage of the live calls that we have. We have live calls every week and multiple live calls every week. So there are so many touch points throughout this program where you're actually talking to other people in the program and talking to people that's helping to facilitate the program. And that's the thing, is take advantage of the resources that you have. Don't compare your progress to other people, and really dive into, like, the Facebook group is a great place for trainees to connect. Dive into those groups and start trying to answer questions. And other trainees, everybody's going to ask questions on there, right? So dive into it, trying to answer those questions, be engaged, because that's going to also be how you learn as well. And I think the big thing to take from the course is that especially when we're talking about these one-on-one practicals and stuff, is the goal is to leave that session feeling more confident and empowered than when you began that session an hour prior. And that's what everybody's really getting from this, is they're leaving it feeling much more equipped and ready to go to the next step. Like Christina had already mentioned, don't jump ahead to the next part. Don't put the cart before the horse, as they say, because you may learn components that you need in order to be successful at the next phase of it. So that's my pieces of advice.
Awesome. Thank you, Kurt. Elizabeth, we'll do you next. So you've obviously been a course mentor, but also have a whole different perspective to getting to probably hear from a lot of the mentors on a regular basis. So I'd love to know your opinion on this. Like, what do you think would be a great way to set someone up from day one? What should they be doing and looking for to make sure that they are ready for these mentorship sessions and the practicals?
Absolutely. So I want to concur with what everybody has said, that go at your own pace and don't expect perfection out of yourself Don't let perfection get in the way of the good. Just starting gives you momentum. You can sit there and look at the practicals for months, but if you schedule the first one, then that gives you the momentum to just keep going and going and going from there. But I think also an important aspect of this is I want you all to reframe your relationship with nervousness. Nervousness is a byproduct of growing. We cannot stay comfortable and grow. We cannot stay in this season. It's not going to carry us through to where we want to go. I know all of you have big missions on your heart. All of the trainees who show up to the live calls, everybody that I interact with, you have big missions on your heart. You want to write books. You want to be on stages. You want to have practices that are flourishing. You want to work on your own health so that you can be present for the people that you love. You want to be a contributing member of good in the world. So this version of yourself that is comfortable with where you are isn't going to carry you through to the next season. You have got to grow. And that comes with being uncomfortable. That comes with embracing the challenge of actually widening your channel, of actually getting into the muck of things that formerly scared you, of actually getting critique. That's a scary thing. That's an uncomfortable thing, just naturally. And that is okay, because it is through this nervousness that we are going to get to this discomfort stage. And that is how we earn growth. That is how we win this game.
Awesome. I think I've already told you guys this week, I got super into personal development at 18. And Elizabeth, it brings up a quote. I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Bob Proctor, but it doesn't matter. The person said, if it makes me nervous and excites me at the same time, I know it's the right thing. Right? Because there's some things that just blatantly
it's the
scare the
same
crap.
nervous system frequency. Being anxious and being excited are the same nervous system frequency. So you can just decide to call it, instead of anxious, you can just decide to call it excited. It's the same thing. Yeah.
And guys, I swear, because I know that there's some people out there that are very anxious people. That is me at my core. Regardless of how I present now, I have family that will verify this for you. Probably the most anxious person most of them had ever met at one point in my life. But it is a muscle. So when you learn, like you said, Elizabeth, to reframe it, or just, hey, I feel the nervous, we do it anyway. Like that was my training. We just do this. We don't let that stop us. I can feel something and experience something without allowing it to dictate what I'm going to do. It's like when people say, I don't care what people think. No, of course you care what people think, but you're not letting it dictate your actions anymore. You can have that same relationship with nervousness when holy cow, I'm so nervous to go speak to these kids, whatever, who knows what they're going to do today, and I'm just going to do it anyway. And when you tell your body enough that that's what we're doing, it's a whole different experience. And even when you do get nervous, you can overpower it. And what you'll find is a lot of the time it can just be looked at as excitement, or you just don't feel that way at all. It's not as extreme as it once was. So great stuff there. I see a bunch of questions and comments that came in. So let's go to them. Jenny said, Elizabeth is so fire, so much good stuff right here. Yes, she's fired up today, baby, that's for sure. Are there weekly calls? Let's highlight this one, excuse me. Are there weekly calls designed to help learning at this stage, or will that cause unnecessary distraction for some students? Just want to be clear. What stage? I'm sorry.
I can take this. I understand what you're saying. Yep, I got you. Is that Jenny? Yeah.
No, this is OB958.
Oh, OB958. I totally understand your question. So all of our calls are considered support calls. They are not synchronous learning elements. They are not required for you to come every week and learn. But we have every week a broad-ranging Q&A that Kurt and I and Reed attend. And Reed, as the founder, has been doing this for 18 years. He still does this every Friday. So if you have that week a specific question about the course concepts or something that you want to talk out with your peers, come to Trainee Study Hour and ask that question. If you are going through Module 5 and you're like, I just wish I had like a different perspective on Module 5, you can go back to the recorded hot topics on Module 5 and you can listen to that and say, oh, okay, now I understand. I got that. I have a better picture of it now. So those resources are designed to be supportive, but not necessarily holding you at a certain place. Like go at your pace and use the live calls as support as needed.
Cool. Thank you. Great. Other comments or questions here? Oh, I wanted this one so badly. So unsure, already a practitioner, and been through IIN and others. The hang up I'm feeling right now is that my personal health stuff is not completely resolved. So how will I help others? Well, there's probably going to be a lot of comments here. I have to start with this only because I went through IIN first and I felt the exact same way. So, by the way, I actually like IIN a lot. I do like the fact that they introduce you to so many dietary theories. I think they present very well. I think they have an awesome way of presenting. They have amazing speakers. And then, of course, they teach you a lot on the coaching side. Now, there's a balance here because do you have to be in perfect health to help someone else? No, you don't. With that said, and I'm sorry, this might not be a popular answer. I'm not speaking on behalf of FDN or any of the other people that are on this call right now. I'm speaking on behalf of Evan Transu. I think sometimes imposter syndrome is just because, yeah, you haven't figured it out yet and you don't feel like you know enough. And there is a time and place where that needs to be dismissed, and there's a time and place where it's practical. So for me, I had severe cystic acne. When I finished up IIN, it did help that a lot, but I still had some cystic acne, and unfortunately, I didn't have the beard at the time, guys, so it was pretty obvious. White as mayonnaise, I couldn't really hide that. You can call it imposter syndrome. You can call it limiting beliefs. Maybe that's all true, but guess what? I didn't want to coach people on acne while I still had cystic acne. I could deal with a little breakout here and there. It didn't seem an integrity to me to be coaching on that when I still had some myself. So FDN was that thing that took it to the next level because FDN allows you to go as far as you need to go. It's not that we're saying that we have the perfect system. We don't, but we recognize the imperfections and account for it. So what does that mean? We have our 5 foundational labs that you're going to learn about and be taught in the course. That helps everyone to some degree. So some people, I've seen them 100%. That's all they ever needed. That 100% better from doing the foundational labs and the protocols. Many people I see 60, 70%. Now, if you go to another program, the problem is if they get you 60, 70%, it's, oops, sorry, that's it. Here in the graduate group, it's like, okay, welcome to the party. We were just getting started. So we have these clinical advisors, we have this advanced training, we have this webinar that we did, we have this 70, 100 labs that we can choose from to go take you to that next step. So you got that last 20, 30, 40% that you need to work on? No problem. You have some of the best minds in the world in this space that are waiting for you in that graduate group, the clinical advisors that you can book in with, and all of these advanced trainings so that you can dot those I's and cross those T's. So where other courses stop, we basically just get started. That's when some of the deepest healing can occur. We're going a little rogue. That's what we do. Sorry, with Ev Lives, you guys know this. So whoever wants to add to this, because I know that someone's going to want to add something, please feel free. But I'm going to pause here. Not all at once, though.
That question resonates with me too, because I mean, as you know, I've gone through a lot of health issues, and I remember feeling that years ago when I was very, very ill, and I was in a wheelchair for a period of time, and I couldn't function very well. And I remember a mentor of mine saying at the time, well, can you wheel yourself in to see your client? I said, yeah. And she goes, well, wheel yourself in. Like, can you help? You don't have to be completely healed to help somebody. You just have to be ahead of where they're at. And you can, and I found that as I started to work with people, when I wasn't completely healed, that I was still valuable to them. I still helped guide them and push them along their healing path. And a benefit to myself that I found doing that was that it took me out of my own health issues, right? Because I was focused on someone else for a period of time and I wasn't, ruminating in where I was at. And I think there's healing in that as well. So what I would say to you is I totally understand how you feel that way. I think all of us have felt imposter syndrome in some way, shape, or form at some period of time, but you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be ahead of where your client is at.
Yeah, that is true. So by the way, I do agree with that, Nicole. To counter my own point about well, maybe you should feel imposter syndrome at some points. There's this gentleman, Ethan Bernard. He's being actually coached by my friend Joey. They're both huge social media influencers. My buddy Joey's a strong man. And I'm a 6-foot male, so I'm tall enough. I look like a child next to him. He's like 6'5", 260, 270 most of the year. It's like a different species, quite frankly. And Joey is coaching Ethan. Now, here's what's so cool about Ethan. You guys can look him up on Instagram. Ethan is helping more people than me. He's probably definitely making more money than me. And Ethan is 460 pounds still. But you know what Ethan started doing on his Instagram and his YouTube? He started posting when he was 600 pounds, and he's 6'5". So, I mean, still, overweight, but not necessarily what you'd expect if someone was like 5'8" at that weight. And so he's sharing that entire journey. And what's so interesting about him, to your point, Nicole, about like how you just got to be a step ahead.
Lost him.
All right, we're back. I was just going to say, Ethan objectively is, and I mean it respectfully, is overweight, right? He's still overweight by anyone's standards. But because he has shared that journey and been transparent, do you know how many people reach out to him for help with the weight loss journey just because he's been willing to share that? So that is probably the biggest counter I can give to my own thing about feeling imposter syndrome, is that there is this gentleman, Ethan, out there who, by all accounts, is still very overweight. But because he's on that journey and been willing to share it and be very vulnerable, people are like, I like that guy. I can learn a thing for him. I don't need him to be at the destination yet. I just like where he's going. I like the path that he's on. So great point there. I want to make sure we get to all these. Let's get to a question for everyone. Can you go into a bit more detail about how the hot topics work? Given that everyone is at a different place in the course, is it that the questions from anywhere in the course are asked? So, of course, Elizabeth, we'll throw this to you.
Yeah, great. So we have a support call called Trainee Study Hour every week where you can bring any question from the beginning of the course to the end of the course and get it dealt with. But we also noticed that there was a need to go deeper into individual course topics, and that is how Hot Topics came about. So you might not be where we are in Hot Topics. That's okay. Come anyway. Learn from the questions that are being asked, even if it's material you haven't gotten to yet. And we record all of them, we catalog them, we archive them with the module that they pertain to. You will eventually surpass where we are live. That is just what is going to happen. And when that happens, you can then join us and be ahead of where we are. You can also then dip back to any of the previous recordings, because we've now been through the course 3 times. So we have an archive of 3 times through the course, where you can go back and listen to the episodes that pertain to modules that are ahead of where we are live. So that's how that works. But you're welcome to join at any stage. And for those trainees that are here on this session who do come to Hot Topics, please chime in about whether or not it is helpful to attend Hot Topics when you are maybe behind where we are in Hot Topics. If that has actually helped you to, when you did get there, you had a little better grasp on it, or you were seeing how things were connecting before you actually got there. So just throw that in the chat.
Elizabeth, just so you know, I'd asked on the grad and training roundtables, we did 4 of those total in the last 4 days. One of my questions is, I say, what's a pleasant surprise that you got while going through the course? Like something that you didn't know that you were going to get or weren't expecting. And by far, the most common answer was that they loved Hot Topics and weren't expecting to get so much out of that. So really cool there. And these folks all got to hear that this week. I'm going to go to these next questions here, but Elizabeth, real quick follow-up. If I'm not mistaken, didn't you just start Hot Topics over again recently?
Yeah, last week.
What a great time to join FDN, folks.
I know, right? I know.
We got to plan that on purpose next time, because that's pretty good.
It's okay. But we go. This is another thing, is that we don't go at my pace. We go at the pace of the group. So
Sure.
when we get through a module, we vote and we say, hey, is everybody like, are we done with this module? Are we ready to move on, or do we want to spend more time here? So it is very much driven by the participants.
Mm-hmm. Bethany, great question here. I'm a stay-at-home mom with 1 kiddo with me at all times. Would it be better for me to start the program when all kids are in school and I have time to myself? I'm certainly not a stay-at-home mom, as you can tell, but I can answer this only because I talk to so many people like this. We had, I don't think you were on our grad roundtable 2 days ago. So not only did we have stay-at-home moms that were going through that had gone through the course while being stay-at-home moms. One of them had 3 kids and one of them had 5. And if I'm not mistaken, one of those, I mean, they're both a lot of kids regardless, but one of those mothers was homeschooling too. So when I answer this, I don't think it's about, oh, can you just do it with 1 kid? I think this is about your unique situation, right? And I'm not trying to be extreme here. You didn't suggest anything like this, but there would be a difference between a kid that maybe needs a ton of support every day versus a kid that, is kind of chilling, plays on their own, and is hanging out. I would probably imagine that there's a huge difference in the experience for the person that's watching them. So objectively, no, you absolutely do not need to be having that kid in school to go do this. We have a ton of moms that are stay at home and doing this at the same time. But I do think that's a unique question for you, where let me flip that actually. Do you have at least 30 minutes a day, maybe an hour a day, that you can dedicate truly to you time to learning this? Because if you can do that truly, then yeah, you'll be done within a year of the FDN course. If you're at a point in your life right now where you're like, Ev, I took an honest look at this. I really cannot even give myself a 30-minute period a day where I get that time for me. Then unfortunately, I'd have to say that that'd probably be pretty. I think you'd be adding a lot of stress to your plate, because it'd be very hard to finish within 12 months if you can't even do that. And then you're going to have that thing in the back of your head, like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to need an extension. I'm not finishing fast enough. I'm not retaining all of it because I've learned it so spread out. That's my opinion. Did anyone here have any situation like that while going through the course? I'm not sure if that'd be relevant to anyone here or something similar, but anyone on the panel have an answer for this?
I mean, I wasn't a stay-at-home mom. Oh, go ahead, Christina, please.
I was working full time. I had little kids, and I was doing the program. So if you want it, you can make it happen. As a mentor, we have so many people coming through, kids, pets, you name it. It's all going on in the background. It's fine. You can, if you want to do it, you can do it.
I needed Christina's answer. That's great. Just like, hey, just do it. It's all good. You got it.
We have so many trainees who are in the same boat, is what I wanted to say, is that they have full-time jobs, they have families, they have a lot of commitments, they have a lot of responsibilities, and they're just carving out an hour a day. I think we did the math the other day, and we think it takes approximately 220 hours to get through the course. That includes watching the modules twice. That includes doing the quizzes. It includes study time for the practicals. Like, all of it's about 220 hours. So if you did an hour a day for 7 days a week, it would take about 8.5 months to get through.
Gotcha. Well said. All right, listen, guys, I want to do this because I know our mentors, they're very generous to even come on here today. It's not like, they don't have a million other things to do. So I want to ask one last question to them. I promise we're staying on this stream. I will get to the questions in this chat because most of it are things that I can answer anyway. So we're going to do one last question to the mentors. We'll rapid fire this one. It's just a fun one. And then we are going to go into our course tour. But before the course tour, I promise I will answer all the questions in this chat. So Christina, we will go back to you first for this one, even though I'm totally out of order now. Yeah, okay. We'll just do the order that we had before. And I guess Elizabeth did have to go. Shoot. Sorry, Elizabeth. So rapid fire one. I just want to know this. You guys have your own practices. All of these people have their own businesses. I am sure you do well enough in those things. It's not like we can pay $1 million a year to be a course mentor, and it's a tough job. You're working with people, all types of people. Some people have different learning styles. I have a public facing role, man. And sometimes it's tough to do that in front of 200 people. I still wouldn't want to do what you guys are doing because I do consider it one of the most important and tough jobs here. So my question for you, Christina, is of all the things that you can be doing and just doing your own business, why the heck do you still love being a course mentor so much?
I think what FDN does is so powerful, and it was a chance for me to give back to a community that I feel like gave me a alternate route in life. And with that, I'm going to go teach Pilates, Ev.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Nicole, we'll go to you next. All the things that you could do, separate career outside of this. Why do you love being a mentor so much still?
I just really love interacting with the trainees. You guys come from all different walks of life, and I find it so interesting to meet all of you. I learn from you just as much as you learn from me. And I really love when getting to see you guys absorb the material, and when it clicks in and you start to be able to apply it, it's just really exciting to see. And I just love teaching and interacting with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Sorry to keep you guys over. Really appreciate you being on today. And Kurt, last but not least, I know that you got to go. So of all the things that you could be doing, business, you have other stuff outside of this. Why do you still love being a mentor so much here at FDN?
I love teaching, and I didn't realize that until I started working with FDN. And like Nicole said, I learn a lot from trainees, and I love, one of my favorite things to do. Well, let me back up for a second. I know it sounds cliche to say that we never stop learning, but
Mhm.
it's true. And I know that's like a grade school classroom poster, like you never stop learning, but that's what we're doing as FDNs, because I've been an FDN for like 6 years now, and I watch Hot Topics and the replays, and I learn something new every day. I co-host Study Hour, and Study Hour, and I learn something new every time I'm on that call. I help co-host the Supplement Squad call, and I learn something new from the other mentors on there. So we're constantly learning, and so I love being able to teach it. And my favorite thing that happens is when I'm actively involved in the graduate group, which I can give you 500 reasons to join the graduate group. But when I'm actively involved in there, and then I have trainees that I worked with, for the last year, helping me with questions I have on a case, or helping me answer questions that I have in there. And that's the best part, is being able to help teach and train somebody that's helping everybody else so much. The best way that I could put it into words and articulate it, but I just love teaching it.
I think that's awesome. Guys, thank you seriously so much. I'm sorry to have kept you over. If we could get a final thank you for our wonderful mentors here, I'll let you guys backstage so that you can go do your thing. Remember, we're staying on this live. I will get to your questions right now. I didn't ignore anyone, just wanted to be respectful to them, because Kurt and Elizabeth got a thing after this. Christina's got Pilates. Nicole's got God knows what. So I just wanted to make sure I'm on time for them. So let's get back to some of these. And forgive me 1 second. I'll get back to where I was at. All right. I don't know if there was anything before this. It's a great question, though, and important. Can you tell me everything that is not included in tuition? That is a fair question. So thankfully, this is a place where we don't hit you with a bunch of weird stuff. All the labs are included in the cost of tuition. All the mentorship sessions are included in the cost of tuition. I'm trying to think of like what is not. Like that'd be the easier thing. If you're US based, the food sensitivity test that you get done, you'll have to pay for the blood draw. So not the test, but the blood draw itself. That's approximately $25 to $50 USD. So you'd have to pay for that. And if you wanted a course textbook, we do not offer a textbook. This is something that's just been done by the trainees throughout time. You can send the slides to, like, I think it's called Lulu or whatever. My wife's actually created like 70 of these for people. We made the very fatal mistake of saying one singular time on a podcast that she made one for herself, and she still gets emails to this day and makes them for people. And she charges $5 for her time for it. That's it, which is very nice. And I think it's like $65 total. You also don't need her for it. You can do it yourself. So that is optional. Remember, you do not need a book for this. No one's telling you to print it out. But if you chose to do that yourself, it'd be like $60 for that. And when you get your food sensitivity test blood draw, it's going to be $20 for that. Shipping's included in all the other tests. All that's good to go. Oh, I knew I was missing one thing. The only other thing that could possibly come up is when you are going through your protocol and you get your results and recommendations from your mentor. Remember, the labs were included, but the supplements are unique to anyone or everyone. So if you choose to use some of the supplements, you would pay for them, and you get wholesale pricing because we're not trying to make money off of you with these supplements. So that is all of the things that will come up that is not included in tuition. So literally everything is right in there for you. And when you buy FDN, you have permanent access to all the updates. Please don't, we mentioned some other courses today. I'm not trying to poke at them. We don't have to mention them again in the chat. I will just say some of the courses that we mentioned today have what I consider very odd policies that they take away your course after a certain amount of time, even though you paid them. Reed Davis, the founder of FDN, he not only thinks that's ridiculous, he kind of believes in the opposite. He wants his trainees and graduates to be trained at the highest level. So we are constantly updating the course. There is a whole team that their entire job basically every day is, how do we do better on the course? How do we improve this? How do we add stuff? How do we fix things? It's all day for them. And so this course, when I went through 9 years ago, looks dramatically different now. It looks different than 3 years ago. So you not only, when you pay for this course, not only get the course itself and permanent access, you also get permanent access to all of the updates at no additional cost. Permanent access to all the updates at no additional cost. So when I went through this years ago, I won't tell you how much it cost. It was a little bit different than it is today. But again, also the course was very different. I don't pay anything extra, and I still get access to all of the updates, which is really cool. So that is everything that is not included in tuition. I hope that helps. If you include the supplements, that would be the main thing. You're looking at maybe several $100s extra. And if you didn't do the supplements, didn't make the book, and still got your MRT, you're talking $25. MRT is the food sensitivity test. Sorry. Okay. Sorry that I have to keep glancing over. I have like my camera in front of me and then the computer's on the side. What else we get? Oh, this is just a comment here. I think, yes, I had the same thing or had the same hang up, but I haven't gone through any other program. I'm considering this program because it seems like support is huge and something to leverage. Yes. And you know what? For both of you that talked about your health not being in the place that it's at, here's something that no other course will ever do. I'm going to tell you, don't buy it yet. Even if you're excited about the sale, do not buy it yet. Do me a favor. Come on next week. And this is still free, right? Come on next week and see some of our live case studies. That is where you're going to get to see the difference. I'm glad that you're already seeing that this week. There is nothing better that we could ever give you guys for free than showing you case studies from some of our top practitioners. You will see exactly how we work. What do we do for the intake? What do the lab results look like? What do the protocols look like? We will have those for you next week. I'm actually even sorry to bring this up because this is very sad, but it is on the schedule. And if you guys are going to go look at that, I don't want you to block this off. Jen Sino, she's on one of our case studies next week. Unfortunately, we're praying for her. Her husband was just in a terrible car accident yesterday, and we're not really sure what's going on with that. So she is not going to be able to present next week, but you will still, the case studies on the calendar from Ryan Monahan, Jennifer Woodward, Bria Gadd, all still a go. I'm going to try to fill in another case study for you guys, but the one with Jen Sino, I believe that was on Tuesday. That is on the schedule still. We have not gotten a chance to take that off. She will not be. Okay. What do we got next here? And remember, we're going to be doing a course tour soon, just finishing up some of the questions live. And then we could still ask questions while we're going through the course tour as well. All right. This is a nice comment here. Joining Hot Topics brings the module together. Even though I haven't made a live one, I got so much out of them. I can only imagine how much more if I'd get to attend live. Awesome. Glad that you love it. Someone said, Stone to Flesh. Ivana said, time to watch Hot Topics again. Great. My gosh, they love Hot Topics. I wish Elizabeth was still on for this. When I started in July and went to Hot Topics, I had no idea what everyone was talking about. Eventually, I caught up, and now that we are starting over, I'm like, I've got this. Great. And that's what happens. It's supposed to be tough, and then we bring it all together. Oh, thank you, Nitty. She said she pinned some questions. Wasn't there a cost to the business resources? Well, sorry. Yes, and if I'm not sure if you're asking this as a direct follow-up to what I was saying about the course itself. So that's a whole separate thing, right? Not everyone needs the business side. So that I wasn't trying to omit something, just to be clear. But that is a separate program in a sense, right? You do not have to do that at all to be an FDN. You don't even have to do it to be a successful FDN. But yeah, if you choose to go through the advanced business training, you can add that on. I mean, that's another $2,400, $2,500. I am not trying to detract from the business course at all, or the business bundle. I actually really like that kind of stuff. My highest recommendation is to go out and get some clients first before you do the business stuff. And you're like, well, wait a second, Ev, how am I going to get the clients without the business stuff? Just go give talks. Go give talks. We teach you how to give the talks. You just go give them. Like, this still works to this day. I still do these things. I just use what FDN taught me. And we have lecture packages. You do that stuff. And then you can use some of the money that you got from those clients to invest in the business side. Now, I know no one ever is going to say this publicly, but everyone's at different stages of life and has had different outcomes. If someone's in a place right now where they have done very well in their normal job and have a substantial amount of money saved aside, sure, buy the business stuff up front if you know that you want to get into entrepreneurship. If it's not really anything to you, it's extremely helpful. I'm just saying, like, if that was the difference between someone going through FDN or not, that's crazy. That's crazy. Go through FDN, go get some clients, and then use some of that money to reinvest into the advanced business side of things. So good question. And I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to omit that by any means, but I do consider it a separate thing from the FDN course. All right, let's see what's next. Have a question that I'm not sure how to word. Okay, well, hopefully I could interpret it for you. Curious about the level of detail this course goes into. Example, are we learning the details of metabolic pathways, like the Krebs cycle? Okay, no, that's a fair question. So it is very in-depth, but not necessarily teaching about things like the Krebs cycle. So I am familiar with that. We don't touch on that in the main course. That is something that's in a lot of our trainings on the graduate side. On the guys, remember Elizabeth said that it takes about 220 hours right now to get through the course when you're including going through the course again, studying and all that stuff. Well, in the graduate group, we have 1,000 hours of archived advanced content. You don't need all of that to be an FDN. I've never went through all of that. I probably haven't even gone through 100 hours of it. But that's where you can get into some of those things. In terms of the detail of what is taught in the course, more detail than most would expect. So if you haven't been on, we know you have been on Angel some of the weeks, so you could probably hear from the grad roundtables where they talk about how, wow, this course was way more in depth and harder than I expected. And for them, that's a good thing. Another option for you, and I'll put this in the comments for you right here. 1 second. Let me go back there. FDNtraining.com/tryFDN. You can actually use that link here, FDNtraining.com/tryFDN. It will let you start the first module for free. Now, the only problem with this is like, because we're letting you do it for free, it's not like we get into the most in-depth stuff in that Try FDN for free, because then we'd be like giving away our course. That's kind of silly. But you will get an overall feel for it. Just know that what you experience in the Try for FDN, it does get more in depth. So if you're even kind of okay with the depth that we're going into in that, you will definitely love the main course. That's the best piece of advice I can give right now. The other thing I could say, I guess, is it's not the best piece, but it's another good piece, is if you are on the case studies next week. I know I keep saying that, but that is when you get to see FDN in action. When you hear those practitioners and what they're able to do because of this program, you're like, whoa, this is different. So don't take my word for it. Don't buy the course before you see it. Come for free next week. Check it out and see if what I said is accurate. Okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, Alicia. That actually made me feel really good that you put that in the chat, because I was hoping that it was clear of why I considered the business thing separate. So I'm glad that you get what I'm saying now. Thank you. My gosh, my eyes are so bad. Let me put on my very nerdy glasses. Oh, how much better. How much better. I just look like a dork. That's the only problem. How can I submit my testing for my husband while I'm still on training and not graduated yet? Well, you would not be able to run tests on your husband by yourself while going through the course. That would not be a thing. But quite frankly, there's nothing that stops you from teaming up with like a graduate that's willing to do that. If your husband has something going on and it's really like that serious that you're like, hey, we got to do this urgently, get connected with us and we could probably figure out some of that. But just so you know, the labs that are provided to you in the main course, they do need to be ran on yourself while going through it. The only exception is for women, and particularly women who are pregnant. That is the only time that there is an exception, and you do not have to run the labs on yourself and can run it on someone else. Every other time, the labs that we provide have to be ran on you. But if you would like to run other labs outside of that, you could get connected with me or someone else, and it sounds like a reasonable enough request. I'd be happy to help you get that done. All right. Holly, it's the same price at the beginning versus later, right? Referring to the business add-on. Yes, it is. The only difference, Holly, the only advantage, and I said this yesterday, but I should repeat this probably every session. So the only difference with buying it on the front end would be if someone had a payment plan. So if you're paying in full, there's advantages to that. But in terms of the business side, there's almost no difference of that. You might as well just buy it afterwards. Just being transparent and honest with you guys. If you are on a payment plan and have a strong inclination that you're going to want to do the business side anyway, that is when it would make more sense to consider doing the business bundle with it, because the business bundle can be put into a 24-month payment plan, just like the main course when you're doing that. So now it is substantially cheaper per month than having to buy all the stuff up front. But if you're paying in full, I don't think there's any huge significant thing for that. And if I'm wrong, well, it's on recording, so then I'll have to back this up later and I'll get you figured out. Don't worry. I'm a man of my word. Okay, awesome. Thanks. I probably missed this because I just joined late. What do the practicals entail? The short version, the practicals basically entail one-on-one mentorship where you're going over mock clients. So what that means is you went through all your training, all your the concepts and the theory, if you will. And now we're getting to what does this actually look like in practice? And so the practicals include you getting a client. It's not a real person. It was a real person, but you're not working with the real person now. Don't worry. You're getting their lab results, the names changed and all that stuff. So you have a real case, actual thing that happened. And then you present to your mentor as if they are the client. And then what you do on the next hour, so you spend the first hour doing that. The next hour is spent with your mentor reviewing with you where you can improve, where you did great, what your strengths are. And you know what? It's so cool, man, because the mentors have so much influence. It sticks with you forever. I will never forget Brandon Mole. I can't remember much of what he said, but I will never forget. He said, "You know what, Evan? You got the gift of gab." I didn't know what that meant. I had never heard that phrase in my life. And it ends up being self-fulfilling because now I get to host these events in the podcast, right? So, when they say something that you need to improve upon, you take it seriously, but they also highlight your strengths. And those are things that stick with you 9 years later because they're authority figures. And, it's kind of nice. It's like your parents saying something good. It sticks with you for a very long time. Last question here, at least that I'm going to answer live. Then we're going to go to the course tour, and I will happily be here with you guys as you ask more questions, and I'll answer them just in the chat. What if I'm not pregnant yet, but by the time I get to them, I'll be going through IVF? Ruby, we're happy to work with that situation, of course. Basically, the bottom line is this. If you are going to be in a position where something, IVF, pregnancy, whatever, is going to be occurring while you are running those labs, that is when the exception would occur. If you are not at any of those phases yet and you have ran the labs or are in the position to run the labs, then obviously that would not be an exception. So if you would like to get that figured out more, we can get you on a call. If you go to, I think we have a link for that. I'm sorry. I think it's a special one for this. So Nidhi will drop that in a second. And if she can't do it, then I'll get it for you guys in a moment. Don't worry. But book on with our team. I already told you guys what the sale is for the month. It's $2,000 off for the entire month. So they're not going to hit you with any gimmicks. You can just get on there and have a consultative type of process and let them know your timeline. And they can let you know exactly what that would look like for you. But we can totally accommodate it no matter what it is. It just might look a little bit different. So thank you guys all for that. All right, let's get to the course tour here. So this is a pre-recorded session, but I am still going to be live with you the whole time in the sense of in the chat. So we're going to watch this. Who would want to watch this? This is for anyone that is considering the FDN program this month. So if you're a trainee or grad, thank you guys for being on. There's nothing new that you're going to get from this, but for those of you that are still in the chat considering the program, we are truly going to take you into it right now. We show you things in this next session that only people who are normally already signed up for the course get to see. Remember, our whole point of the Discovery Series is for you to be able to make an informed decision. What better way to do that than to show you the course itself before you ever purchase it? So let's get this playing here. You can ask questions throughout. There is a Q&A that was done in the recorded session that we're going to be playing for you guys live as well. But I will still answer your questions happily in the chat. So feel free to ask them at any point. Let's get this rolling here. Un momento, por favor.
All right. So what you're looking.
All right. I'm going to remove myself here. You're going to be hearing from myself, Brandy Buskow, and all those people. Myrna said thank you, and I decided I will join tomorrow. Awesome. Well, early welcome to FDN. And once I see your name come through, I will make sure to shout you out on our Monday session next week. So if you guys do have to hop off at any point during this session, no worries. Looking forward to seeing you guys bright and early next week. It's not really that early. I don't know why I said that. It depends on the time zone you're in, I guess. But we have a first case study with not only a former clinical advisor here, one of our most successful FDNs, and my business partner, Ryan Monahan. So he will be presenting a thyroid case study on Monday, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys at that time. Enjoy the course tour and ask any questions that you got while we're going through.
Looking at here is what we call our FDN Connect website. This is our internal website that our students and graduates get access to when they enroll in the course. And this is where all their course material lives and all of the resources that they have access to. So the big question is, what happens when I enroll in the FDN course? Well, within about 5-10 minutes of enrolling, you're going to get an email from our team giving you a username and password to log into this site. When you log in for the first time, it's going to bring you here to the dashboard. And what you're going to see is you're going to see this orange button here that says My Courses. And so we're going to go there and I'm going to show you what the course actually looks like. So once you head over here, for most of you, you're only going to see this course here. This is the FDN course. So we're going to click on it and we're going to go in and take a look at what's inside. So on this main page, there's a little bit of a overview of what's included in the course. And then over here on the right is where you're going to see all of the course modules. And within each module, if I click on the drop down, you'll see that there's also lessons within here and a quiz associated with most of the modules. So the course is laid out so that you go through each module in order because each module builds on itself. And it's separated into 3 parts. The first part is where you go over the hows and whys, the academic part. This is where you're going to learn about the FDN methodology, how we're different. We're going to talk about the lab testing, our 5 foundational labs, and we will go over those as I'm going through here. And then we get into, once you've learned the labs, what do you do with that information? How do you create a protocol? So that's the first section. The second section is where you actually get to go over your own personal test results with a mentor. So you get to be your own first client. And that's your opportunity to see what it looks like to be in a session reviewing test results, because that's going to prepare you for the last section of the course, which is the practical session. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to show you inside a little bit module by module. And of course, as Evan said, please put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure that we answer them. So in this welcome module here, this is where you get an introduction from our team. You get to meet Reed. This is where Reed kind of introduces you to the history of FDN, our philosophy, and how we're different. And one of the things I want to point out is that many of the videos that we have are less than 30 minutes. A lot of them are 20 minutes or less. We did that on purpose because we wanted to make sure that we gave you the information in bite-sized pieces. So you had the ability to watch, take notes on the slides, and then take a break if you need to. So we've broken it up in several different parts to make it easier for you to digest. So once we get past the welcome module, this is where we start to get into the meat and potatoes. This is where we get into all the information. So module 1 is really the background of this concept that we call metabolic chaos. And Reed starts going in to explain to you what that means and preparing for you for what to expect in the future modules on all of the testing. And again, as I mentioned, there's quizzes in here. These are multiple choice quizzes. You can take them as many times as you want. They're just here to help you understand or check to see if you understand the material that you just watched. So module 2 is when we start to talk about the first of our 5 foundational labs. So that first test is a salivary hormone test. It's the stress and hormones profile. And module 2 is going into the first of the hormones, which is cortisol and DHEA, really talking about the stress hormones, the stress cascade. We're going to talk about the biology, the physiology, so that you really understand how the systems are working and how they are all affected by stress. Module 3 is when we get into the second part of the stress and hormones profile, and this is where we start talking about the sex hormones. So we start talking about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and we have a couple of bonus markers in here, secretory IgA and melatonin. And so this one is a little bit of a longer module because there's more to go over, but we're going to give you examples within each of these lessons on what the test results look like, what do the markers mean? And again, you're also going to get some anatomy and physiology behind the hormones and understanding how they work together in harmony or disharmony when you start having symptoms. Module 4 is when we start to talk about the second foundational test, and that is a dried urine test, and it is the metabolic wellness profile. This section is talking about detoxification, digestion, and oxidative stress. And so you can see here we start to talk about what that looks like. And again, anatomy and physiology, what do the markers mean? And so that you can understand how the system works and why we are looking at the markers that we are looking at on this particular test. Module 5 is where we jump into the third of our 5 foundational tests. This is the mucosal barrier assessment. This is a dry blood spot test. This is looking at zonulin, histamine, and DAO. It also goes into a couple of other intestinal permeability markers. And again, this is a really deep lesson where you're getting into the physiology of the gut lining and the immune system and how they all interact together. So this is a really good in-depth module. Module 6 is the fourth of our 5 foundational tests. This is where we are talking about the GI map stool test. This is all about pathogens. This is probably the biggest module that we have in the course because there's a lot of information to cover. And so we're going to talk about bacterial infections, fungal infections, parasites, candida, and so on, and then some other digestive health markers. So this is a very long module, but there's a lot of great information in here. After module 6, we give you a little bit of a break, and we let you start to learn about the importance of intake forms. And so we go over our philosophy on intake forms, and this is where you actually get to fill out your intake forms for the first time as a client going through the FDN process. And what I didn't mention off the top is when you enroll in the course, we are going to send you all 5 of the test kits as part of your tuition. So you will get those kits sent to your home. And this is about the time here around module 6 that you're going to get a reminder from our team, hey, it's time to start collecting your samples so that you can get them back to the lab and we can get your test results in time for module 14, where you're going to get to review them with a mentor. So it's at this point also where you start to look at the intake forms. Once we've done the documentation section, we move on to module 7, and this is where we cover the 5th of the 5 foundational tests, and this is food sensitivity testing. So the one that we prefer and that we like is the LEAP MRT test. Now, if you are somebody who is not in the US, so you're in Canada, Europe, Australia, anywhere else outside of the US, we also cover dry blood spot testing for food sensitivity testing. And this module goes into all the different types of testing, but also the different types of immune reactions that your body can have to food. And this is a really, really great. I actually really enjoy this module. This is a good one. Module 8 is where we start to talk about, this is a bonus assessment. So it's not a test, but it is an online assessment helping you to understand the concept of metabolic typing. What is your metabolic type? Do you thrive on a diet that is higher in protein and lower in carbs to make you feel better? Or are you somebody that does better with more carbs? Or are you one of those people that really thrives on a balance of both? So we start to explain this concept behind metabolic typing and how we use it in FDN. And this is where you're actually going to get to do the metabolic typing assessment on yourself. And you'll get to meet with a mentor for the first time to go over those test results so you can start to put into practice what you've learned and start to make changes to your diet and see how you feel before you get to the rest of your test results. Once we've completed module 8, this is when we go into our 5 pillars of lifestyle. This is the protocol section. So for those of you that are new, our 5 pillars, you can, if you put your fingers up, there's 5 fingers, and they are DRESS, so diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So we have a module on all of those. They're pretty self-explanatory. I do want to show you a little bit here in module 13 where we talk about supplementation. This was split into 2. So the first module is the hows and whys of supplementation, but we really dig deep into supplement quality, how to look for research-backed supplements, ingredients, herbs versus, other ingredients, blends versus single ingredient supplements, delivery mechanisms, topical, sublingual, capsule form, liposomal form. So we talk about all of those things. So this is kind of the hows and whys of supplementation. And then the second part, 13B, is where we actually teach you how to create a protocol. So that was split into 2 sections because there's a lot of information in there. Once you've completed module 13, this is where you get to see it all in practice, and we give you a couple of case studies to watch where our mentor team is presenting case studies from start to finish and showing you what it looks like in action. This is also where you're going to get a note from our team letting you know, congratulations, it's time for you to book your first results and recommendation session where you get to go over your personal test results with a mentor. They're going to explain them to you, they're going to give you a protocol, and you're going to experience what it looks like to be a client. Module 15 is where we give you a little bit of business training. So, what does it look like when you start working with clients? How do you onboard them? How do you get started? And so this is a really good section as well. And then module 16, this is the very last module. And this is where you're doing the practicals. So you are meeting with a mentor over Zoom and you are going through mock case studies. So we give you the case study and you are presenting to the mentor as if they are your client, your findings. This is your opportunity to practice what you've just learned. And you get to do this 6 times before you graduate so that you feel confident when you've graduated, you know what you're doing. These sessions are meant for you to learn. They're not meant for you to be scared of doing. The mentors are very helpful. And if you can get past the practicals, you will have no problem passing the final exam or passing the oral exam because these prepare you for those exams. So this section of the course takes about 2 months. The rest of the course you can do as fast or as slow as you need to. We give you 12 months to complete the course. It's taking on average 6 to 8 months right now. But I think the fastest at this point we've seen somebody go through is about 4 months. And that was 2 months on all of the information I just showed you here above and 2 months just on this practical session because we have you space them apart for a reason. Once you've completed the practicals, then you get to submit your written final, which is an open book exam. So you get to download this and work on it. And if it takes you a week to fill it out, that's totally fine. You submit your written exam. It is marked. You do need to get at least an 80% or higher. And I will tell you, we have a very high success rate, over 90%. Actually, it's more like 95% passing rate. And so once you pass your written exam, you will get an invitation to do your oral final, which is a 30-minute session with our mentor Tess. And this is where Tess is just asking you questions about the FDN course, key concepts. If you've gotten through the practicals, you will have no problem completing the oral exam. At that point, Tess gets to congratulate you and officially tell you that you are an FDN graduate and you have completed the course. The final step in completing the course in order for you to get your certificate is you will be booking a post-grad interview. This is an interview that you can do with Reed or a couple of other members of the team, and this is where we get your feedback. So we ask you questions about your experience in the course, and we take that feedback and we use it to update the course materials. Once you are done, you are officially a graduate and you are off and running and you're able to start working with clients. So I do want to talk about ways that you can get support, but I'm going to just take a pause. Evan, is there any questions we should address right now before I talk about support while you're in the course?
I'll cover one just to give you a half a second break here, but I did answer them in the chat. So someone had asked, is the online metabolic typing test included in tuition? So yes, Julie, that's a good question. It is included in tuition for anyone wondering, in addition to 5 of the foundational tests that we talked about. So it's really nice. It's just so you guys know, it's notably over $1,000 USD. Just included in lab testing for yourself. That's what we want for you. We want you to be your own first client. And then Zora, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. They were kind of asking between the difference, like with an HTMA metabolic type. Now, Brandy, I don't know if you address this differently. For myself, this is just what I found to work best and usually best for my clients. I eat based on the metabolic type that comes up on the metabolic typing diet. I find that that helps me most. But my HTMA, I will supplement and mineralize based on the type that comes up there, because I'll typically come up as slow ox on HTMA and I'll typically come up as a mixed ox. Well, not typically, I've always come up as a mixed oxidizer on my metabolic typing test. And I have actually found that supplementing for that and eating for that respectively works a little bit better for me. Do you find that there's any discrepancies there? And then how do you handle that?
Yeah, so it's never going to match. The what they're looking at on an HTMA is more the rate at which you are using or having access to your minerals, because that's what we're testing. Whereas the metabolic typing online assessment is related to food and energy. So how your body uses food for energy and the mix of macronutrients that you should be eating to get the most energy from your food. So it typically is not going to match, and that's normal. such
Well,
a
there you
good
go.
question.
That must be why it works for me so well.
Yeah.
That was an astute question. It was just cool to have that in the chat and someone actually know the differences there. So yeah, that's all for now. I think we can keep moving.
Awesome. All right. So I am going to just talk about the ways that we can get support. So while you're going through the program, there's a lot of support. We have a very active Facebook group, so you all get access to it. We have mentors in there who are answering questions every single day. If you're not somebody that loves Facebook, that's okay. We have lots of other ways to get support. So we have our whole support team that you can email Monday to Friday, and they answer your questions within 24 hours. But we also have live calls that are on Zoom that you can attend. So 2 of them happen every single week. These are not required. You do not have to attend them in order to graduate. They're just there to provide additional support. So the first one is every Wednesday. It is called why can I never remember? Hot Topics. Hot Topics with Elizabeth Gaines. So Elizabeth is our Director of Education. She works closely with Reed in the course content. And Elizabeth does Hot Topics on Wednesdays to take one concept in the course and dive a little bit deeper and give you a little bit of a different take on it and different analogies to help you understand. So a lot of students love Hot Topics. They are all recorded, so if you can't attend live and you want to watch them, you can watch the recordings. That's not a problem. And then every Friday we have trainee study hour, and this is where Reed and the mentor team are on, where you can come on and ask them any questions you want about the course. Reed has been doing this for over 10 years. He's been on the Friday call every Friday for, for over 10 years. And again, those are all recorded as well. We have a couple of other ones throughout the month. We have an orientation call once a month for new students. We've got an office hours calls that happens twice a month. Again, that's directly with our support team so they can help you with logistics or access or things like that. And then we do have a supplement call once a month in the trainee group. And we have a bridge call, which is mainly for people who are getting towards the end of the course. This is with Dr. Jill Philo, and she helps you to kind of plan ahead on how do you go from being a student to being in practice and being a practitioner. So this is a really good opportunity to ask her questions to prepare for that. So lots of different ways for you to get support while you're going through the program. So now you're a graduate, and the big question that we get a lot is how am I able to access lab testing? So that's where the medical director program comes in. So I'm just going to go here to the about page. And the medical director program is a service. So it's not a separate course. It's a service that is available to every single person who graduates from the FDN course. This is the service that gives you the ability to access lab testing for yourself and for your clients without needing a license. You can either order the testing through us, and where you would do that is if you are somebody that is working with clients internationally, we can ship kits internationally. If you are working with clients in the state of New York, Rhode Island, or New Jersey, which happen to be somewhat difficult for most labs to deal with, we have figured out how to support you in those states. And for most other tests, you would order them through Avexia. So we are partnered with Avexia Diagnostics. And the reason we did that is we wanted to get you volume pricing. So the best pricing you're going to find on testing is through Avexia. And so all of your other tests you can get through them. And they do allow you to open accounts as FDN practitioners. In addition to access to testing, we also have our amazing clinical advisor team. This is the gold, I think, of the medical director program. This is where you have the opportunity to purchase sessions. I'm actually going to show you clinical advisor team. Oh, it's probably not here. This is where you get to speak to a veteran FDN practitioner who has a successful, thriving practice, and you get to ask them questions about a lab or about a case. So when you graduate from the course, you're never going to be stranded not knowing what to do. You always have access to our team of clinical advisors so that you can ask them questions and get support. And I am going to just do a search for that page because I want to show them who they are. We'll do that quickly. There we go. So Brandon Mole, been an FDN longer than I have. He's been around for, I think, 14 years at this point. Whitney Morgan, veteran clinical advisor. She is our resident expert on autoimmunity and thyroid. Dr. Jill Philo, the very first clinical advisor for FDN. She was actually the very first mentor for FDN as well. So she was with Reed very early on back in 2009. We've got Paula Reed, amazing clinical advisor as well. Dustin, he's amazing. He's a mentor and a clinical advisor, super, super knowledgeable. We've got Courtney Cowie. She has a background in nutrition and she blends that very, very well with FDN. And then we've got Antoinette, our Australian mentor, who is there to provide clinical advising support to our graduates in Australia and New Zealand. So we do have access to a whole team of clinical advisors to help you with interpretation when you need it, when you graduate. And that's all part of the medical director program that every graduate gets access to. So the only way that you can get access to this and the testing is to go through the program and graduate.
Brandy,
Now,
can I throw something in here because this is important for these folks here? So we had Mare and Julie kind of asked two questions that are separate, but I think we can cover them both in one. So Mare had originally asked, is the medical director fee for each of the 5 foundational labs? And then Julie had asked, is the medical director service an additional cost to join us? So guys, when you graduate, you literally get access to the service that is the medical director program. And I just say service because people always, that was Brandy, she was trying to help you guys out there. They always get confused with the course thing. So yes, FDN program, that's a course. Medical director program is a service. So no additional trainings necessary or whatever. The medical director program in and of itself does not have a fee. Certain tests on that medical director program do though. But Brandy, to your point about the clinical advisors, every single time, there's never a case where that medical director fee is not imposed, where you don't automatically qualify for a 30-minute consult and review with the clinical advisors, right?
yeah. So, and it's a good question. So when you order a test through FDN, there is a fee, and that fee covers a few things. It covers our medical directors because we actually do have 2 doctors that put their licenses on the line to allow us to access testing. So that covers our medical directors. It covers our medical director program team that manages all of the ordering, the logistics, the customer service, the whole gamut of things that go into ordering test kits and managing them with you and your client. And that also covers a 30-minute session with our clinical advisors. So there is a fee each time you order a test. Now, to the question on, is there a fee for each of the foundational labs? The answer is technically no. So 4 of the tests that we cover that are our foundational labs, you can order directly from the lab. So you can open a direct account with them. You can order directly. You do not need to order through the medical director program, so you do not have to pay the fee. The GI map stool test, technically you can actually order as well through Avexia. There is no extra fee to order that through Avexia. If you are in New York or you have a client that is outside of the US, you would.
Hold on, guys. I'm trying to figure out what this thing's doing to me. I don't know. It like started playing double the videos for some reason, so I'm going to get that back. Let me answer this real quick. No clinical advisor sessions come with tuition. I'm making sure I've never been asked that, so I'm making sure I understand that. Yeah, there's no clinical advising sessions that come directly with tuition, and then with the access to the testing, no, I'm sorry. No, there's no monthly fee. The medical director program is automatically included once you graduate. There is never a fee to access it, only if you order certain tests through it. And that always comes with a clinical advisor session. Let me get this video back for you guys. I'm sorry that it started doing that echo thing. 1 second here.
All right. So our support teams, so they can help you at this point. Whitney Morgan, veteran clinical
Director program in and of itself, there's stuff that we have to do that has nothing to do with labs, right? You're going over certain stats. I'm going over marketing stuff. You're going over production things. There's a lot of things that we're covering on a daily basis. And we have these amazing people here who, even within their job, the nature of it is to study labs, to learn more, to keep going.
All right, I'm going to play it from here. I know I'm like going a minute backwards, and I apologize, but we'll get through this and then we'll be good to go.
So I'd rather get a second set of eyes from those people who have to do this 8+ hours a day than people like Brandy and I, who otherwise are very good at this and very experienced FDNs, but we're never going to be able to look at as many labs as those folks. So yeah, I almost always use them. There's some cases nowadays I don't, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah. All right. So I want to go into what kind of support is available to you after you graduate. So we talked about the medical director program. We talked about the clinical advisors. Now I want to talk to you about our postgraduate membership. Now this is not required, but we highly encourage every single graduate to be a part of this membership. It's $33 a month. And for what you get, $33 a month is a steal. So in the AFDNP membership, this is where you get, again, you do get a Facebook group, very active. Our clinical advisors are in there answering clinical questions. You can post business questions. And I would actually say that our graduates themselves are even more supportive sometimes than the team. I'm not saying the team isn't, but like if you post a question in there, you're going to get multiple people jumping in and helping you. So you never have to worry that you have a question nobody can answer. You can post it in there and you have a whole community of FDN practitioners that are going to jump in and answer questions for you. Some of the exclusive things you get as this membership, you get access to our job board. This is only available to our members. And so we get about 2 to 3 jobs a month posted in here. And so you get first dibs on being able to see those jobs because they go on the job board exclusive to members. You get access to the natural medicines database. So this is a database where you can go and you can check interactions between herbs and medications or 2 different herbs. This is normally a $300 a year membership if you were to pay for this on your own. We include it for you for free as part of your membership. You get the ability to add your name to the practitioner listing on our website. So again, this is exclusive to our members. And then you get access to, I think last time you said, Evan, like 900 hours of ongoing training on clinical business. I mean, everything you can think of in practice, we cover in these trainings.
Very close to 1,000 now as well. I will double check with our director over there, Lucy McKellar, Lucy Currup. Sorry, she's married now. But yeah, we're getting up to 1,000. I think we need to celebrate when we get there. So we are not saying that wrong. There's over 1,000 additional hours of archived business and advanced health training. And it will be even more by the time some of you guys graduate, if you were to go through soon, because we're doing 3 to 4 hours of stuff per week.
Yeah, and you can see up here, I mean, this is just what's coming up in the next week or so. We've got, 2 mastermind calls. We've got a webinar with Designs for Health. We've got a peer-to-peer session. We've got a business in a box session. So we've got new stuff coming all the time. So for $33 a month, you get access to all of that. Plus you do get some exclusive discounts. So if you're interested in any of the additional products and services, which I'll show you in just a moment, every AFDNP member gets an exclusive 20% discount. So you're saving extra money. So that is great. And this is, I like to talk about AFDNP because it's probably the best community that I've seen. We get a ton of comments on the importance of community and how we really support that and we encourage that. And Evan, you've done a great job. I think this is an opportunity for us to talk about even our in-person community. I mean, you've been a part of that for the past 2 years or more of encouraging these in-person events where more and more FDNs are coming together and the community is just different. Like we had an event last October and half of the people there were FDN practitioners. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see them all in person.
Yeah, the online community is awesome because you get so many different perspectives and you can access more minds at once. But as we've gotten bigger, the in-person thing, to Brandy's point, it just makes sense. I'm sure there's science on this. There's someone smarter than me that's out there researching this stuff, but you don't need any clinical literature to know that. I don't even though Brandy and I are like friends and colleagues, we don't feel the same right now as if we're in person together, right? That's always a more special connection and a conversation. So we think it's so important for our FDNs to be able to see each other, especially since most of us are the black sheep of our families. Like we're the ones wearing blue light blocking glasses, eating gluten free, doing God knows what. And when you can get into a community that not only honors that, but hey, of course we're going to this place for lunch or dinner. Why would we eat the other place? They have seed oils. It's just so refreshing to be around like-minded individuals for a little bit. So yeah, right now our goal is to be able, it's not a ton obviously, but our goal is to be able to do about 3 different meetups for you guys every year, one in the East Coast, one in kind of the center of America, and one on the West Coast. We'd love to do some international ones eventually, but for right now, people are flying to us. We have 2 FDNs who are visiting the United States for the first time for this October conference that we have coming up. We have one coming from Australia and one coming from Hungary. So really cool.
It's awesome. Yes. All right. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is our advanced courses. And Evan, I know you like to call them intensive, but I wanted to show this because once you go through the FDN course, we want to give you as much training as you could ever want. So what you learn in the FDN course is everything you're ever going to need to help a client. You do not need anything more, because regardless of, let's say you decide to, I don't know, work on SIBO or organic acids, do an organic acids test, you have to do the foundations first. But there are some clients that doing the foundations maybe only gets them 60% of the way there, 70% of the way there. And so because you have access to all this testing, we want to give you the education that goes along with that. And so we created these, we call them advanced courses. Or like intensives, and they are very specific to one topic, generally 10 hours or less. And they are there for you to advance your training if you want to. And they all tie back to the FDN philosophy and the FDN principle. And we have a growing catalog.
I purposely paused this. Sorry to interrupt, guys. I just want to make one thing clear because it came up in the chat. It's a good question. So Dana had asked, what is the total typical cost to the FDN for the foundational labs done on most clients? And then I had answered with, if you started with all the foundational labs, so assuming that a client was going to do all the labs right up front, you'd be looking at around $1,200 USD. Now, we never sell the labs separately. What you're taught to do as an FDN is you're usually selling around $3,000 to $4,000 packages that are going to be over several months, and that includes the cost of the labs. So that's how we do it. And then the follow-up here from Dana that I think is really important. Does that include the fees for the medical director program or just the lab costs? So, well, this is good news, but I just don't want it to be confusing. So most of the foundational labs don't actually have a medical director program fee. And I know that seems counterintuitive. It's like, well, wait, why would those not have it? It's because we have such good relationships with those places that we're able, like, for example, Fluids IQ is a lab that you'll learn about in the main course. It makes up 3 of our 5 foundational labs. They actually trust our process enough that you can get an account directly with them. So there's no medical director fee for any of their tests. You don't have to pay the $65, even though you get that clinical consult with the $65 every time. That's great. But no, you don't have to do that. The GI map, if you order that through the medical director program, that does include that will require a $65 fee. But we have partnerships with Avexia now and DHA labs. You don't need to use the medical director program for the GI map anymore, which is another foundational lab that we have. The final foundational lab that we have is a food sensitivity test. It is different by country. Every country actually has a different food sensitivity test for us. So it's one of the more unique tests. But in the United States, the MRT, there is no medical director program fee. That is also something that you can get an account with. So believe it or not, with our foundational labs, you will never have to or be forced to pay a medical director program fee unless you are in certain countries. And in that case, it would only be for 1 or 2 labs. It's not like a main thing by any means. So I just wanted to make sure that's all clear for everyone. So in my business, if I'm selling a $4,000 package, and I usually want those medical director program consults just to dot I's and cross T's, then I'm going to just budget that $65 in for myself. And I just know that I'm going to use that at some point just to get the extra support. I don't always need that, but it's nice to have it. Things have changed for me a little bit since this video was done. I partnered in business with a guy named Ryan Monahan, and he was a former clinical advisor here at FDN. So of course you can understand why I partnered with him. And I get to use him for a lot of the stuff with the more advanced clinical things. So hope all of that makes sense. Just wanted to say it out loud so people understand. The medical director program fee is typically being used for labs, all these other advanced labs that you have access to that are not the foundational labs.
See, we've got several here, and we actually have 6 more in the pipeline that we were releasing in the next 6 months. So we're always adding more information in here. So this is something that we also pride ourselves on, is bringing you more education to expand your knowledge as a practitioner after you graduate and you've gotten the foundations in place. So that is what I have here for a sneak peek behind the curtain of what is available and how we're different. Let's jump into questions.
Awesome. We already had a few waiting, so thank you all. Some of you tuned in a little late. That's no problem. What we're doing here is we're going over our course tour. So we kind of just give you guys an insider look. Typically, you'd have to be, as you could tell, logged in and already have purchased the course to see all that stuff. And the way that we look at it, we were just finishing up talking about community, really. And we wouldn't want someone to be in our community that doesn't want to be here. So we kind of like to do these transparent things and show you guys things that a lot of other places don't, just so that you can make an informed decision if you're looking at the course. All right, so let me get back to the ones that we had just missed. Julie had said, can we go over what lab tests we do have access to? Particularly, will we have access to OAT, Dutch, GIMAP, HTMA tests, things from Genova? So Julie, I'll make it simple for you in this sense. We have access 100% to everything that you just said there. And really, I would almost be hard pressed to find the one that we don't have access to. Like, as someone that has done this for years, I have never come close to using all the tests that we have access to, especially now with Avexia being added on. I don't think I ever will come close, and I've never had the thing where I couldn't go get. So if you'd like to list off more specifics, I'm happy to do a yes and no with them. But Brandy, you would be way better at this than me. Is there anything or like a category or a company that is completely omitted that people typically ask for, just so we can be fully transparent for Julie?
We did get a lot of questions about genomics. Now, there is genomics testing through Avexia, and we don't offer it through the medical director program. The reason we have it is there's so many on the market, and we are trying to find the one that makes sense for us. It's not that we don't value genetic testing, but you also have to if understand about genetics, is you may have the SNP, but it's the lifestyle factors that you do that turn that SNP on or off, or turn that mutation on or off. So the way that we teach is let's get the foundations in first, let's clean up lifestyle, let's do the things that we know can turn a mutation on or off. And then if you want to add the genetics in later, maybe to find even more in depth, like how should you be working out, or maybe you need to focus a little bit more on certain micronutrients because that's what your genetics state. That's great. But that's the only reason why we don't teach it, is because it's kind of advanced testing. It's digging deeper above the foundationals. But I do know there are some available through Avexia. So I think for the most part with Avexia, we've covered everything in terms of testing.
Cool. Zora gave you, I don't know if you saw that on the video, gave you a thumbs up to that answer. So also asked, I want to make sure I'm doing things the right way. If I work with clients outside the US, how does licensing work? And will I be able to order tests for them? Or what's the best way to handle that? So let's start with the test side. This is one of the major problems for people in the market that our medical director program solves. So if I'm in the US and I have a client in Australia, or I have a client in the UK, or I have a client in Canada, I can use the medical director program to handle all of those clients. And I want to make sure, because the only thing I wanted to go into here is this person asked about licensing. So I don't think that they mean we have the licensing, like specifically as FDNs, but you want to touch on, like, why do I?
All right, folks, Audio Detective Eb is back again. I feel so bad because people are saying that the answers get cut off for them for some reason, which really stinks. So I guess we're doing a Q&A here anyway, in terms of the pre-recorded Q&A, so I could still help out with some stuff like this. So let me do this right here. And actually, I wanted to kind of explain this anyway. I just didn't want to interrupt again. So, Angelique, if you're ordering 4 tests through FDN, do you pay $65 per test for the advisor? So, no, because there really wouldn't be a case that would be relevant. And here's what I mean by that. So, as we already explained, if you're ordering the foundational labs, you don't need a medical director fee for that at all. So that's no big deal. Now, if you were ordering 4 tests through FDN, that would mean that you're ordering them all through the medical director program. All of them are not foundational labs. And then, yes, in that case, you would pay $65 each time. But the reason I'm saying that, like, if it's because that's not, the good news is, like, that's not a real situation. No one would ever really do that. If someone was advanced enough as a practitioner that they're ordering 4 or 5 tests at a time, none of which are the foundationals. First of all, that would probably take a couple of years before you're experienced enough, generally speaking, to go and do that. But second, you could just be partnered with Avexia then, and you don't have to pay any medical director program fee to us. So you could just use Avexia, which we have a direct partnership with, and you're able to use them instead. So you're not forced to get the medical director program. So no, I can't really think of a case where anyone would do that. If you are a brand new FDN, this is totally optional. Can't stress this enough. But if you are a brand new FDN that wants a lot of extra support, and you know, you're like, I'm nervous. I know I graduated. I know they wouldn't let me graduate if I wasn't qualified, but I'm super nervous and I want all this help with stuff. We do have longer clinical advising sessions. It's like a 1.5 hour one, which lets you submit like 5 labs for that. And basically, the clinical advisor will go over the whole case with you. So this is really cool. You know, we were talking about imposter syndrome earlier today. What a great way to fight that, right? So if you can, sell the client on your program and services, you will have all the resources to be able to deliver on your promises to them and to support them. So let's break down some math really quick. If I have a $4,000 program that I'm selling, and that person got $1,200 worth of labs, all right, well, now I'm at $2,800 for me. If I wanted to do a 90-minute session with a clinical advisor to go over all the labs, foundational or not, I can actually purchase that separately. I think that one's like $180, $150, something like that. So now I'm down to $2,650 for me and my business. But think about what I just got for that. I just got an extra set of eyes that has been doing this for probably 5 to 10 years plus. And I know in my heart that my client just got the best possible service. So that's one way that you could use that for all the labs. I feel like some of this is going to be confusing. So I hope it's not, but feel free to ask any clarity questions if need be. That's the best way I could answer that one. Angelique said, I might have missed it, but what is the cost to access the advanced courses? Is it included in the $33 a month? No, those are separate things. They are courses actually that usually utilize other teachers as well. So some of the common teachers for those are Lori Rose, PhD. She is a college professor in Texas, not too far from me, actually, only a couple hours away. She creates a lot of our advanced courses for us. So my point is, she gets paid for those things. Brennan Vermeyer, awesome guy, super advanced in a lot of clinical things and involved in a lot of clinical trials and research. So he creates a lot of them. We have Dr. Tom Moorcroft and Rachel Smith. They did a Lyme course. Lisa Pomeroy of the Pomeroy Institute, she's created a lot of our advanced courses. So we have various teachers in that. They all need to get paid. So our advanced courses are very affordable, but they are separate. Another thing to note is the advanced courses are available to the public. You do not need to be an FDN to get our advanced courses. The cheapest advanced course is only like $47, and the most expensive one is like $1,400. It's the intensive on Lyme disease. It's a very advanced course. Most of them on average, though, are around $397 to $500 USD. And again, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from them. I love the advanced courses overall, but the reality is I've only completed 2 of them in 9 years of being a graduate. And I've never I don't need them to be an FDN. It's more if you want to dive deep into one topic, or you're a lifelong chronic learner and you can't stop buying courses. I mean, hey, at least you could buy ours then. Someone asked if I already have an Avexia account, is there a reason to use FDNs instead? Not that I'm aware of. I don't think that it's like necessarily any cheaper than the average person who can access an Avexia account. So remember, not everyone can, right? Like the average person can't just walk in and get an Avexia account. You do need some type of certification, degree, or licensure to get access to Avexia normally. So usually the benefit for a lot of our FDNs is they otherwise couldn't get Avexia at all. But what is it, T or Teed? Sorry about this. I'm not sure what the name is, but I'll say T if that's okay. What would be a benefit to you at FDN is specifically our medical director program. So, Teed, you probably already know Avexia won't go to certain places with certain labs like New Jersey, New York, whatever. We actually are able to legally and ethically override that. How are we able to do that? Most people don't realize that a lot of the reasons that these places are not sending the labs to New York and New Jersey is not always just a legality thing. It's because they don't want to deal with some of the extra steps. Well, the medical director program at FDN, we only serve one client. We serve FDNs. Avexia, we love them, but they serve everyone and their brother that has licensure or certifications. We only serve FDNs. So we are willing to go through those extra hoops and extra steps to make sure that your client as an FDN practitioner can get those things. Whereas Avexia, again, nothing wrong with them. We love them, but there's not enough skin in the game for them to do that for all of their people. So the medical director program actually might be able to give you unique national and international opportunities to get labs places that you otherwise can't usually do it with Avexia, with Rupa, and stuff like that. All right, a lot of questions here. Yeah, sorry. Okay, this was that. So if I'm Holly, so if I'm continuing to work and fine tune my own health, I can get help with my own labs and recommendations like I could for a client, right? Yes, Holly, that's included in tuition. So I'm sorry that wasn't clear throughout the week. Your first mentorship sessions, so I want everyone to pay attention to this, please. Everyone's first mentorship sessions that we were talking about earlier today, they're not the practicals. You do not do the practicals as the first mentorship sessions. The first 3 mentorship sessions that you do are going over your own lab results that you ran while you were in the course. So the entire first part of your mentorship is dedicated to you figuring out what's going on, protocols for you. And listen, it's not the same as 6 months of coaching, right? No one's going to be there to hold your hand through it, but you will have a protocol by an extremely experienced FDN, right? That's how they become a course mentor. And you will absolutely know what to do. So I know that Holly, you've shared some stuff that already this week that implies to me you're a self-motivated person. You clearly can show up. You're on for all of these, so you can keep the schedule and stuff. That would be the only thing that you're not getting from the mentors is they're not doing the coaching side. But in terms of the consulting, telling you what's going on, telling you what you need to do, you get all of that over 3 sessions with them. And that's included in tuition. So yeah, you'll be good to go. What's the actual ROI? So for those that don't know, that means return on investment. I only say that. I know a lot of people aren't into business here. Return on investment be, for your example, for a $4,800 program. Well, okay, sorry, I'm not trying to ignore this one. I just wanted to do the follow-up here. Holly said, I'm asking if I want to add labs not originally included. I'm sorry, misunderstood that. So if you wanted to add labs, I don't know how many we would allow in those sessions. I don't even know if you can allow one. Can you tell me this though, Holly? What you must be thinking about certain labs. So what labs are you thinking about adding on while you'd be in training? Let me know, and then I'll get back to that one, I promise. Let's go here again. So what would the actual return on investment be in your example of a $4,000 program? So return on investment, and this means a few things, right? So let's go to the actual raw finances of it first, and then talk about what else return on investment means though. So $4,000, assuming I'm a good FDN and did all the foundational labs, which I should do, $1,200 now was the cost of that. So now I'm at $2,800. There's nothing else that's required outside of that, right? You could do clinical advising if you wanted, but you didn't have to do that. So let's say it's $2,800. Well, the return on investment is tough to say because did you offer a 6-month coaching program? Did you offer a 3-month coaching program? Are you someone that allows them to text you on an app Monday through Friday? Do you not allow text support like that? Maybe you only do emails. So we give you a structure of how to run your programs at FDN. We never tell you how to, like you're forced to do it. Like you are not forced to do it in any way. We don't own you. You don't work for us. You are your own business. So we're just giving guidelines, but you can do it in any way that you want. So I hope that makes sense, because the ROI could be dramatically different for someone who only offered 3 months of coaching for that price versus 6 months of coaching for that price. And if I didn't understand that correctly, let me know, but I think that's what you meant. All right, Holly, here we go. I was exposed to Bartonella, cat scratch disease, I don't know, and have had chronic health issues since. So let's say I got an Igenix or a Vibrant panel. Can I get advising on the results? So I want to say that you can do that with some of the mentorship sessions. I don't 100% know, and I'm sorry that I don't know that. That's not a question that I've actually been asked before. So I'd rather under promise, over deliver. I'm going to say no. Now, here's the thing. Holly, from the second that you got your lab test results back and started your practicals, it's going to be about 2 months before you graduate. So remember, you get your lab results back, you're going over them with your mentor. You're only going to have about 2 more months before you graduate from there, assuming that you're doing everything on time. So what I would recommend, even if you can't get the extra session while you're in the course, go through that. Like, do the protocol, because listen, I 100% believe Bartonella, Lyme, all these things, they have an impact on our body. They are very real issues. But when we're able to do some of the foundational stuff beforehand, this is not my opinion. This is something that I've heard a million times on the podcast from people that we've interviewed. They have actually been able to find that they're a lot more resilient to these things that have been crushing them for years when they do the other foundational stuff. So my point in saying all this is, if you can bear with us for 2 months, even if you can't get this other lab yet, and you go through your foundational protocol, you know what you're going to be able to do? This is the best part about clinical advising that no one has talked about yet. We should have mentioned this. Clinical advising means that you can run a lab for yourself, go to that clinical advising session, and for only $65, that clinical advisor is going to help you with your case and your labs. That's a huge advantage of being an FDN. These clinical advisors, folks, are not cheap outside of FDN. You're going to have to pay them $5,000 to $8,000, most of them, for a real package with them, versus as an FDN graduate, you would have access to be like, hey, I want to run this Igenix or, the Vibrant test. And then you could go right into that clinical advising session for only $65. They will tell you exactly what's going on and what you can do next. So the worst case scenario, Holly, is the one that I just listed, which I hope that you consider is still pretty good. I would say from day one, I would ask about that question regarding the lab testing, if you could add that on, just so there's no surprises for you. If that's a maker, I hope it's not a make or break for you to join the program. Gosh forbid it was. Just email fdninfo@afdnp.com and they will be able to let you know. Oh, you said, okay, perfect. You said perfect, great point. And that's really what I was asking. I can treat myself as a client at any point. Yes, absolutely. Okay, if we prefer not to always offer labs in groups, does that indicate a poor fit for this program? If we do not, T, do you mean offer labs in group? Do you mean doing group coaching? Is that what you're asking about? If you don't prefer to always offer labs in group coaching settings? I'm sorry that I don't know what you mean by groups. So I'll follow up with you as soon as I get that answer from you, because there's a 30 to 60 second delay on here. Indira said, yes, that makes sense. And that is what I was thinking about. If I set up my program the wrong way, offering too much, then I would lose or come out even. So good point. And I'm glad that you're thinking this way. And I mean that seriously, because you know what most FDNs do? They have limiting beliefs. And they say, well, who's going to spend $4,000? And then they go out and they charge nothing. And they realize how much work and effort they put into serving someone, which is perfectly okay if you're charging the right amount. And then it creates resentment. And then you don't show up for your client in the way that you wanted to originally or planned to originally, because you're not getting paid enough and your bill's got to get going. So I like that you're thinking the opposite way of most of our fresh graduates. This is a fee for service. You are offering a lot to these people, and that is completely okay to charge for that. So just so you know, though, yes, a $3,500 to $4,000 package, generally speaking, including the labs, is going to get you more than enough to be like good to go and have a real business. There are FDNs that charge a little bit less and have restructured packages. There are FDNs that charge over double that, guys. You don't have to do that. Some of them have been doing this for 10 years, and that's their personal preference and choice. But for me, I have a certain structure that I do. I won't necessarily get into it too much today, but I have a few different tiers. My partner Ryan and I have a few different tiers, and we do have a little bit of a strategy where I can teach you guys about this on a different session. But if you have a certain clientele or certain niche that will respond very well to one lab if they're still really sick, then you can kind of use that as the gateway. So I'll kind of tell you guys what it is. I think you'd like this. So we have something called our Jumpstart program, and our business is called the Autoimmune Recovery Lab. So we work with, you guessed it, autoimmune clients. Now, there's different types of autoimmune clients. I don't just mean different types of autoimmune diseases. Obviously, there's different types of that. I mean different types of clients in terms of where they're at. So one day we'll get someone who's like, hey, I have an autoimmune disease, but I'm gluten-free, dairy-free. I go to bed on time. I get my vitamins. I've been doing what I think is all this stuff, and I still don't feel better. Okay, well, that's never going to be someone that I offer my Jumpstart to because they've already done a lot of work and they're still not where they need to be. So I need to use all the tools that I have to get them better. Our COO, Brandy, says this brilliantly, the one that's actually in this photo with me here, or the still video, if you will. She always says, like, if you were at a crime scene, you wouldn't want the detective to just look at like one part of the crime scene. You'd want the detectives to look at all of the parts of the crime scene. So that's how we think about it with the labs. So Ev, when would you use your Jumpstart program then? Well, my Jumpstart program typically includes just the food sensitivity test. And you know who I use that on? I use that on an autoimmune client who might be limited on funds, or maybe, unfortunately, they've been through the ringer with different doctors and practitioners. They're not sure who to believe or who they can trust. But they also have not made significant dietary changes. So they're not gluten-free. They're not dairy-free. They've never even tried things like that. I think in the back of my head, I'm like, perfect. I can 100,000% help this person. So I offer them the Jumpstart package, which is way more affordable, only has one lab, and we just start with the dietary stuff. Now, all of you are probably well aware that an autoimmune patient or client that has not been gluten or dairy free yet, if you help them with that, they're going to do great. And so we are going to help them with that. I'm going to prove to them that I actually know what the heck that I'm talking about. I really am different than other practitioners out there. And once that Jumpstart is done, I'm going to offer them the remainder of my package at no additional, well, I want to say it right. It's not that it's no additional cost. I'm just going to charge them the difference, right? So let me make up numbers really quick. If $4,000 is the normal package, $1,200 is the Jumpstart. Once we're done the Jumpstart, I'm going to say, hey, I would like the extra $2,800. It'll include the additional labs, and we're going to get you feeling how you actually want to feel. That's how the Jumpstart works. Indira said, yes, I'd love to offer it for free and just help people out, but I have to pay the bills. Yeah. And we could talk about this fully in a separate session. I have a money mindset session that we'll be doing in a couple weeks, but there is I can't say the practitioner because I don't want people to go to her and then abuse this. So not that I don't trust you guys. I just want to be nice here. It's someone on our staff. I will say that. There is a staff member that we have that also has their own practice, and you know how like people tithe and they do things with 10%? My wife and I, we don't tithe per se, but we do a version of that with our 10%, and we do just try to give it to good causes or just do nice things for people that we love. I think that's a great principle to have. It doesn't make you a good person or a better person. It's just a good principle to have in your life. It shows gratitude for what you're receiving. But what this individual that I'm thinking of does, her 10% is not a tithing. She actually saves 10% of everything that comes in from her business to help people that want to work with her that might really not be able to afford it, but she knows will put in the effort, and she will cover part or all of their program for them. So Indira, I don't even know you, and I already love you because you're thinking the right way. This is how you do it. When you are fortunate enough and privileged enough to be in a good situation where you have a head on your shoulders and information that allows you to make money, there is nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, as Evan Transu. Now, I don't know everything, so maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. Where I think someone draws an interesting line is if we're going to make money and do all this stuff and we're not going to serve other people that don't have the same privileges and opportunities that we have, that's probably a not so great idea. Now, that doesn't mean we need to give 50% of our income or the clothes off our back. That's a whole separate thing. But can we save 10% of what we're doing to help other people that need it more than us? Yes, I think that's a very good way to live your life. And I know not everyone's going to believe this. If I could show you the things that have occurred in my wife and I's life as we've done this 10% thing, you would literally think I am psychotic because there's no way that it could possibly be true. What I mean is, I don't think that it's just a practical principle. And sorry, we're getting way rogue here, baby. You're 2 hours and 18 minutes in with Ev, so I go rogue. This is not just a practical principle. I wholeheartedly would bet my life on this. I think it's a spiritual principle as well. Now, I know it's taught in spiritual texts, right? The Bible talks about 10% and all that kind of stuff. I am telling you from experience, I have dealt with things that make no sense at all. And it all happens typically after we have that faith, we do something good for someone else, and we go with that 10%. So I never give that 10% expecting something back. There's key words here. I'm not expecting, hey, I put my 10% in, God, universe, whatever you subscribe to, I subscribe to God. But whatever you subscribe to, I'm not, hey, I put my 10% in, now give me something back. That's not what it is. That's an expectation. No, I have the faith that this is a principle and that when I do this, everything's already taken care of. I don't need to expect anything because it's the right thing to do and it's already taken care of, and I will be covered for doing the right thing. Sorry, Ev going rogue, 2 hours, 20 minutes in, baby. Alicia said, oh, that's such a blessing and a good idea to be able to donate some overflow to people in need that will put in the work. I love that. Yes. And guys, you could be working a W-2 or a 9 to 5 right now and getting a W-2 tax form. You can do this today. And if that scares you, if you're like, Ev, oh my gosh, I can't do 10%, perfect. That is the best type of person to do this challenge. Go do that for a couple of months. Figure it out. Act like the government came out with a 10% tax or inflation's up 10%. Go give that 10% to whoever you feel inclined needs it. You just start saving it. You don't give it away the same day. You just save it. And you will know, I promise, you will know when to give it away and you will know the right thing to do with it. And you will make more money than you've ever made. I do not know how to explain it. I don't understand it. It's above my pay grade. I promise you this is real. And guess what? I've worked here for years. I'm still going to be here in 2 months, folks. So if it didn't work for you, cool. Come back in 2 months and tell me it didn't work. That's fine. I can't find someone that is able to tell me that it didn't work. It is the weirdest and coolest thing that we are designed in such a way or in such a world that servicing others actually also helps us. What a cool way to live. How does an FDNP who orders labs directly from Avexia, because he has the license to do so, apply the lab results as a non-licensed FDN? So this is the principle of FDN in general, right? OB, this is a good question. How do we do this in general? How are we able to do anything with the labs? So when we are signing on our clients, they sign a terms of service agreement that acknowledges this is not diagnosing. We can't diagnose, right? Most of these tests, not all of them, but most of these tests cannot be even used to diagnose a medical condition, right? So what are we actually using them for? Well, we're trying to find known things that act as stressors on the body, and that if we address those stressors, we can support someone. So in that terms of service agreement, it is the client acknowledging that this is for educational purposes, not diagnosing purposes. And that is not a play on words. That's literally what it is. Even let's take something like a blood work lab, right? If I had high blood glucose for multiple measurements from Western medicine, they could diagnose me with type 2 diabetes. So that is a test where diagnosing can happen. That's blood work. That's where a lot of diagnosing happens. But an FDN might say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, just so you know, your blood sugar does look very elevated here. I would go to your doctor and have this done again to make sure you're not dealing with type 2 diabetes right now. But by the way, here are some proven things that you can do lifestyle-wise that do support blood sugar. Right? And here's a fun, weird one. We actually know if you eat outside, and you guys, if you have never heard this before, it's going to sound wacky. This is true, so please fact check me on it. When you are exposed to UV light, you become more insulin sensitive. So remember, insulin resistance is the bad one, right? Insulin sensitive is good. If you eat under light that has strong UV, like the summer sun, you become more insulin sensitive. Now, how on earth could that happen? Why would that be a thing? Well, it's almost like nature's designed perfectly. And if I'm in a high UV light place, where would I also be? I'd be in a place with strong sun. If I'm in a place with strong sun, other than the desert, what happens? Crops grow. Carbohydrates grow in crops, right? You know what I mean? Or crops have carbohydrates. Sorry, I should have said that better. So I'm eating more carbs and my body needs to be more insulin sensitive. Really interesting how that works. So little stuff like that. Oh, Bethany, you are feeling me. I love this. I love this. She said, "Yep, it's the only thing in Scripture that God tells us to test Him in." Well, I tested Him in it, and it works. I will never change it. I don't care how bad things get, how tough finances become. I will never, ever, ever change that. Awesome. I'm loving this with you guys. If you want to hang out for the rest of the Q&A that was done with Brandy and I before, feel free. Otherwise, keep throwing things in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them. But let's get this rolling again.
Licensing. How am I allowed to work for someone in Australia if I'm in the United States?
Yeah, so for the most part, as FDN practitioners, we do have some licensed folk, but most FDNs are not licensed. And the reason we can do what we do is because we do not diagnose or treat anything specifically. And the testing that we use is not considered diagnostic. So of the tests that I showed you in the 5 foundational labs, there's no one marker on there that can diagnose a disease. Those tests are giving us markers and information about dysfunction in the different body systems that were giving us clues on why our clients are having symptoms. So we bridge the gap between somebody has a diagnosis and they need to work with a doctor because it's diagnosed and they need a prescription. We're there to kind of help them before they even get there. Because there's so many people that are like, I went to the doctor and my testing, they said everything looks normal, but I still feel like crap. Well, that's where we come in. We can start to identify what those dysfunctions are with this testing. We're not diagnosing a disease. We're identifying dysfunction and opportunities for healing, and then we are helping them with lifestyle. So that's how we're able to do this. We don't need a license because these are not diagnostic tests. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Also, Julie says there are a lot of DTC labs. Sorry, guys, for those that don't know, direct to consumer labs now. Does this give us more access than other unlicensed people have? There are a lot of direct to consumer things. Yes, some things the average person can get. Other things are, yes, you're getting a huge benefit by doing the FDN stuff, and certain things you would only get access to through us. I want to make sure I'm not misspeaking. So are there any, like off the top of your head, Brandy, that you know you could never get direct to consumer that you could get through us?
I don't
'Cause
think
there's
so, but
definitely-
one of the things I was thinking is that even some of the labs, like if you just take Dutch, for instance, I think if you go directly to Dutch, not as a practitioner, you're paying twice as much as we would pay or
Good
what we
point.
could pass along to our clients. Same with the MRT. Like if you were to just go and order that off the street, it's like $200 or $300 more than what we as a practitioner could get for our clients. So most of what the direct to consumer is, it's like blood work. From what I can see, and then food sensitivity testing. But then the other side of that is they're not getting interpretation. They're not getting any support with that testing.
Yes. Then Julie went on to ask about, like, what about basic labs? So this is all blood work for those that don't know, like CBC, CMP, blood glucose, etc. So Julie, what's kind of funny about this is, well, to give you a direct answer, yes, but with the asterisk of, like, you can't do this. That would be the one thing. Like, I can't get blood work for someone in Germany, or I can't do that for someone in Australia. Those are things that, again, are all direct to consumer. We can't override the blood work. Like New Jersey, for example, doesn't allow the direct to consumer stuff with that. We can't override that. So ironically, the one thing that most people can get access to through their insurance, thank God, is the probably thing that we would have the most tough time with. Now, I know sometimes you want like a full thyroid panel. What we can do is we can educate our clients so that they can be empowered to maybe go to their doctor and ask for a full thyroid panel or certain markers. Obviously, that's not a medical recommendation from us. It's just saying, hey, it'd be cool if you asked for this. But yes, there's a few states in the United States where there's nothing you can really do about the blood work side. And then a lot of the countries around the world, that'd be pretty tough. Like, I don't think we can do that at all in Canada, for example, right?
Not yet. Not how I handle it with my clients in Canada is I just have them go to their doctor and get regular blood work. And I might just say, hey, just say you're dealing with a lot of fatigue and ask them to check your iron or ask them to check your thyroid. So they can go and get that from their doctor. It's easy for them to bring. Now, we do not cover blood chemistry in the course. And again, the reason for that is blood chemistry is great. I actually use it all the time. If I'm going to tell you any advanced course to take the advanced blood chemistry course because it's helpful. But when I review somebody's blood chemistry, it doesn't give me the answers to what's going on. It usually leads to more questions. So I actually use looking at blood chemistry as a leader product, leading them into my package because it always leads to, okay, now we need to find out what's going on with your adrenals. We got to find out what's going on with your gut because these markers are just telling me their dysfunction, but it's not telling me why. So it's valuable, but that's why we don't teach it in the course, because it's not actually giving us clear information. Hopefully that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And of course, yes, some people can have really banged up functional lab work and banged up blood work. But to Brandy's point, that this is exactly how I found this stuff. As you guys can probably tell, I mean, I'm not the oldest FDN that's ever lived. I was 21 when I did this. It wasn't because I was bored. And admittedly, as a 21-year-old guy, this was kind of the last thing I wanted to get into at the time. But I had to, because I had 7 different diagnosed health conditions at the age of 18. Interestingly, none of them required blood work to be diagnosed. And that's just because of the respective types of conditions that they were. But when we did do blood work to see like what the heck is wrong with this kid at the time, the only 2 things that came up, well, 2 things, one of which I would have said something about, but they only said one thing even mattered. They said I had slightly high cholesterol. And then looking back, I also think my TSH being a 3.5 thyroid stimulating hormone, that was probably a warning sign. But in their reference range, 3.5 was fine. So they didn't even say anything about that at the time. It was just slightly high cholesterol. And I'm like, how on earth can I have all these things going on mentally and physically to the point that I get an actual labeled condition or giving me a label, but then I have nothing really major with my blood work? Certainly high cholesterol is not just causing all of that. Now, when I did the labs through FDN, I had multiple food sensitivities to foods that I was eating every single day. My GI map, that stool test that we talked about, that showed a parasite, H. pylori, which is a bacterial infection, low immune function in the gut, dysbiosis because of my years of antibiotics. Hormone tests showed way out of range DHEA, way below range cortisol. I'm not going to list off every little thing that I had, but this is what's interesting. So all these things from a functional perspective were incorrect, even though my blood work looked overall okay. And this is why Brendan Vermeyer, one of our kind of teachers here at FDN, he doesn't teach in the main course, but he kind of comes on and helps our graduates a lot. And he'll be doing an event for us in September. He always talks about blood work's great. It's the most scientifically validated form of testing that we have. But since it's used on so much of the population, which with such tight ranges, what it's really finding is when someone's in kind of more immediate trouble, right? If your blood sugar's through the roof, you're going to need something to help manage that so that you feel like a normal person while you get the other stuff figured out. So by the time the blood work's majorly out of whack, that's not great. FDNs can help at that point, and we can help before a lot of the blood work's majorly out of range. So hope that makes a ton of sense to you guys. Mm-hmm. Another question, just different path now. Sorry, I missed something. Did you say AFDNP members have access to 20% off? What exactly? I think you probably meant the advanced courses.
The advanced courses, they get a discount on clinical advisor sessions. They get a discount on metabolic typing. So if they want to run it on their clients, they get an additional discount on that. And not officially announced yet, but they actually will also get a discount on recertification. So we have to recertify every 2 years. It's a $99 fee, which is going up to $129, and 12 hours of continuing education. But AFDNP members will actually keep their $99 fee. They won't have to pay the $129. We like to pass along savings to our members, so that's one of the extra perks as well.
Okay. Julie had asked, and we kind of touched on this, but I think we can be direct here. Do we get wholesale pricing on the labs and then price as we choose to our clients? So this is kind of a almost more of a business question, like are we upcharging for the labs?
Yeah, so we try to pass along the best pricing we can. That's why we partnered with Avexia. That's probably the best pricing you're going to see. We don't recommend upcharging the cost of labs. Pass that savings on to your client and maximize income by like charging enough for your coaching or your consulting. And then this is where you could also leverage supplements as well to bring in a little bit extra. Labs are expensive enough, so you don't want to be, taking a $300 test and marking it up to $600, making it unaffordable.
Vivian, I think she had tuned in a little late. How is testing access from Canada? It's actually great. And probably some of that's due to the fact that our founder, Reed, was born in Canada. So he always wants to help out his Canadians. And then our COO, Brandy, who's talking right now, she is actually in Canada as well. So it's not identical to the US, but I think it's fair to say, 90+% of the way there?
Yeah, and actually, 3 of our 5 foundational labs are from a lab called Fluids IQ, which is based in Montreal. So for us Canadians, that actually works out because we can order it from them and it's in Canadian dollars, which is great. But then the other tests, there's no issue shipping the test from the US into Canada and back. The only trouble we have is anything that requires a blood draw. So we don't use the MRT, which is the food sensitivity test, because it requires you to go have your blood drawn. But we would use a dry blood spot test instead. But otherwise, 95% of the tests are really easy to do in Canada. There's no problems.
Yep. Zora, I'm not sure because it was like 6 or 7 minutes ago now, so I'm not sure which one it was, but I'm glad that you liked it. They said, thank you for this answer. This is exactly what I was looking for. So let us know what answer that was. Also, another question here, would we have access to Avexia together with the medical director program, with the FDN program? Sorry if this is a repetitive question. So the answer is yes. And again, we're going to maybe have to work on our wording one day to help you guys out. So the FDN program is the course. This is the certification. This is the thing that you're going through all this training. You're going to have your practical exams and then you graduate. When you graduate within the next, it's usually about 72 hours roughly from that point, you will have access to the medical director stuff and you're going to be able to sign up with Avexia. Of course, Avexia has to approve you as well, but we move pretty fast for you once you are officially graduated and good to go. So, and there's no extra work for Avexia other than signing up for it. It takes 5 seconds, maybe 30, if you don't have your stuff auto-filled and saved. And the medical director thing is literally something you'll be able to utilize within, again, usually 3 to 4 days of graduating.
Mm-hmm. So you get access to both. Yep.
Yeah, I know, all good. FDN is the main thing that you're doing, though. Julie says, Tennessee is a very restrictive state. Will I be able to order labs and give information to clients without getting in trouble? Is it all about wording? And so lab-wise, I actually, it's interesting, Julie, I wouldn't look at that as a restrictive state. Lab-wise, I'm assuming we're probably getting into the round here of like, well, there's health coaches and nutritionists, and you can't say this or you can't say that, meal planning, all that stuff. So would you say that it's all about wording, Brandy, or is just FDN's not really going out of scope for anything anyway?
When people ask that question, it's usually around prescriptive language, which we teach you in the course. We do not use prescriptive language. And it's almost always related to dietitians and nutritionists and being able to talk about diet. And we are not prescriptive with diet. So we don't do meal planning. We don't prescribe certain diets. It's all in the wording. So I like to use the example, Florida used to be a red state. And there was a practitioner that I talked to that was like, I don't even know how to talk to my clients about food. I was like, okay, we'll just say it might be beneficial if you tried this. Here's a blog you can go and look at, or here's a book that you can read. And, you know, let's say they have autoimmunity and you want them to try the autoimmune protocol, just send them resources and they can decide. You're not prescribing it, you're just giving them recommendations. And when it comes to meal planning, you can use something like Real Plans or I can't remember the name of the other one, but like they take care of that for you. So that's where you can get into trouble, is if you're using prescriptive words or you're really getting in the way of what nutritionists and dietitians do with prescriptive language around diet and nutrition.
Yeah. And you know what? Nowadays, I'm not particularly worried because if I ask ChatGPT right now, no matter what state I'm in, right, for an exercise plan, a meal plan, lawyer advice, tax advice, but it'll give it all to you. So I'm not saying that's right, but I think more eyeballs are going to be on that than someone, suggesting someone look into a type of eating. So good question, but no, you should be good to go.
Yep.
Big question here. So big question just in the sense of I think we're both going to want to contribute to this to explain why. So Zohra had asked, do we need to run all 4 tests when working with clients, or is that a preference? So need would mean that you're required to do it, right? We don't own you, right? You're an FDN practitioner. There's a scope that you're supposed to handle yourself within, and there's proper conduct that we'd expect any professional to have. But we don't own your business. You're not some independent contractor under us. You're in your business, your LLC, whatever you want to set up that works for your type of setup that you have. And you can technically do then all the labs. You can do no labs. You could work with people in any way that you see fit. With that said, this would be my strongest recommendation as someone who has learned from doing it the opposite way. And Zohra, you do seem like a more experienced practitioner just in the fact that you already were able to bring up the differences between HTMA metabolic typing versus the test that we had. So this is a general answer. It's not necessarily specifically for you. Brandy knows I can't get through one of these lives without bringing up the damn Picasso quote. So this is the time. You got to learn the rules like a master so you can break them like an artist. And what that means in the context of labs is when I went through this, I have to remember Reed Davis, our founder, worked with 11,000 people before teaching this to someone else. At the time, I had like maybe 2 health coaching clients, so no labs, just health coaching. And I had a handful of personal training clients at the time in my life. I had to have the humility to say in the back of my head, I don't know more than this guy. And what he was saying at the time is if you get clients, run the foundational labs at least to get yourself rolling, because then you're always going to have something to help them with. And you know what I did? I had limiting beliefs because, again, I was 21. I was working with someone notably older than me at the time, and I was operating off 21-year-old beliefs. So the 21-year-old beliefs were, oh, no one has money for all these tests or whatever. I didn't understand how expensive life gets in your mid-20s and beyond. I can't wake up without spending $300 now, it seems. But at the time, that was like life-changing. So I projected that belief onto my client, and I only ran a GI map with them. And what happened is I did not get them results that I promised, even though I wanted to. And after we got a few sessions in, I kind of apologized and I told them the truth, more or less. I told them the truth about all our other labs and all this kind of stuff. And you know what they sent to me? They sent to me, why didn't you just tell me about all the labs when we were on the phone? I would have ran them. And we didn't end up working anymore together for obvious reasons, but I will just never forget that. I'm like, oh, why didn't you ask me to run all the labs? So I'm not saying that you're asking that for a reason of price necessarily or anything like that. These are just usually the reasons that this comes up. So I wanted to address it for a lot of people. So no, you do not need to do it. You can run one singular lab or no labs at all and still be a decent FDN. If anyone is listening is new to working with clients and you're not getting consistent results then as a result, I would highly recommend trying it our way. Just see how that works. And then you can see if something else works for your clientele. Brandy, sorry for that long spiel, but I feel like this is so important for them to understand, and I'm sure you still have something to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say, we like to use the word detective. So if you're looking at a crime scene, you want all the evidence. You can't solve the crime if you only have 1 or 2 pieces of evidence. And I did the same thing as you, Evan. I started working with a client and her hormones were out of whack, and all she wanted to do was test her hormones. And I caved, and we just ran the SHP, and I couldn't help, like, I could help her a little bit, but it didn't tell me why her hormones were off. Like had I run all of them, I would have gotten her results. And so she didn't get results. And I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, I feel bad because, had I just said, well, no, we need to do all of them to get all the information to get you results, she would have been happier, and she went away unhappy because we only ran 1 test.
So yeah, that's the answer there. If you need a follow-up, let us know. But I just cannot recommend enough to anyone doing this. I know it's hard, especially if some of you guys have never owned your own business. So the idea of selling a client at all, that's already scary, let alone with a bunch of labs or whatever. At least do it the way that you were trained, because then once the client does buy, at least you can deliver on your promises. All right. Came on late. Will there be a recording? Absolutely, there will be. We're recording this right now, actually, and we'll have it sent out to you. Julie had asked, do we get an account through FullScript to have clients order supplements? Yes. One of the many cool things about being an FDN is you get FullScript, and you can actually, that's a place where you can upcharge for supplements if you like, or if you want to work it out that you give them more wholesale pricing, you can choose to do that. My wife is an FDN practitioner as well. We have 2 separate accounts. One is set to make a little profit. One is sent to full discount. So we kind of use that a little bit differently. But yes, you can have that. Mayor asked an important question here, and Brandy's always perfect with this stuff. How are we not practicing medicine if we're sitting here designing a protocol with supplements to take?
We are giving recommendations. We are not prescribing. And so whenever somebody starts working with us and you get this as part of the program, you have a client sign what's called a terms of service agreement. You do not do anything with them until they sign the terms of service agreement. And that agreement states that you are not a doctor, you are not prescribing or treating, you are providing recommendations, and that you highly encourage them to check with their licensed practitioner before making any changes. We have never had, since 2008, never had any practitioner who has been sued or anything happened because we follow those principles, and we teach you in the course how to do in a way that you're staying in your own backyard. Reed likes to say, stay in our lane and stay in our own backyard, and we teach you how to do that.
It's an amazing job. You get to educate and empower, and then the person ultimately makes their own decisions, as it should be. And just so you guys know, different clients are going to choose different things. Some are going to choose to use some of Western and some of functional. Some want to go all in on that. They have every right to do that. We're just here to educate on our part so that they can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Vivian said, is the dry blood test really good, though? So that's for the food sensitivity side. I know, Brandy, you've had to use this pretty much exclusively with clients. You have had the MRT sometimes, but a lot of the times you're using the dry blood test for food sensitivities, and you found really strong clinical correlations with that, I believe.
Yeah, I really, really love the one from Mosaic. I've used it several times. I've tried a bunch of different ones. I do find it valuable. It usually correlates with what's going on with the client. And something to keep in mind with a lot of these labs, I can't say whether or not this is true for direct and consumer, but the labs that we work with, they have to have their testing approved by CLIA, which is an organization that upholds standards in the lab or like in the lab world. And so they have to validate their findings and validate their results. It's very stringent and they have to jump through a lot of hoops and they have to redo that every couple of years. So the labs that we work with are approved by CLIA. We would not be using something that's just a fly-by-night lab where they have not validated their results. It's really important to us, and that's another function of the medical director program is we're constantly in communication with our labs, and you would not believe the amount of lab companies that come to us. We get a new one every single week wanting us to work with them, and we say no more than we say yes for that reason.
We talked about full script. Good. All right, so we needed some clarity on this, please. And I totally get you guys. This always happens. So to be clear, every lab we order will have a $75 fee attached to it, and that's not really the case necessarily.
No, it's only if you order through the FDN Medical Director program, and not all tests require you to do that. Some of them you can order direct from the lab, and some of them you can order through Avexia. If you order through the FDN Medical Director program, it's international, it's dealing with people in New York, you're going to get a clinical advisor consult as part of that fee. So you probably pay it anyways if you're ordering from Avexia, because I saw that question asked. Yes, if you order testing from Avexia or directly from the lab, you can always purchase a clinical advisor session. You're probably going to buy it anyways, so that fee that you're paying with one of the tests, it just gives you a clinical advisor session.
Yes. And guys, when you are starting out, especially, I mean, it's still true, I guess, years later, but when you are starting out, especially, this can just be hard to understand. These sessions should be budgeted into your packets or packages. I'm sorry. And I'm going to spare us from a whole business conversation right now. Again, this is really where you'd want to go to fdntraining.com/call if this stuff doesn't make full sense. But even a new FDN, guys, we're going to recommend that you charge around $3,000 to $4,000 for your services with the labs. For a multiple month coaching program, so you're giving the person a lot as well, but you're charging a decent amount. What you can do in that is literally, if you want to be super safe, you can budget in a 90-minute clinical advisor session if you want. That is a small fraction of your overall $3,000 or $4,000 program, and yet you'll have the confidence knowing I can bring this case in, get a second set of eyes, and really buff things out together.
All right, guys. Sorry that I can't make it back on video. That is going to wrap it up for this recording of the course tour. I hope that this was still helpful for you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you Monday. I did misspeak earlier. There's going to be no case study on Monday, but still some cool stuff going on that day. You've heard the words hot topics a million times, so I realized they were able to sneak this into the schedule. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, Central Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 11 Eastern on Monday, the 17th, we are actually replaying a Hot Topics session. So if you want to see what Hot Topics is actually like, that'll be happening at 11 o'clock Eastern. And then at 5 o'clock Eastern, we have Elizabeth Gaines presenting again. This is also on Monday. She'll be doing a multiple part series going over the FDN methodology so that you guys can truly understand what we're doing here, what we're not, some of the intake forms per Holly's question earlier. I'll make sure she shares them. And that'll be happening on Monday. Case studies will start on Tuesday, and that'll be with Ryan Monahan at 3 o'clock Eastern. Of course, we'll keep you guys updated. So that's what's happening Monday. And then Tuesday, the fun will begin with the case studies. Really looking forward to seeing you next week. I hope you all have a great weekend. If you do want to replay anything that has occurred this week, just go to our YouTube right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed in the bottom right corner, please. I'd appreciate it. And then that'll let you easily get access to the YouTube channel where you can go under our live tab. So not videos, not shorts, the live tab, because we've played all of these live. You can go right into that playlist there in the live tab, and you'll see all the stuff that has happened in the last week. You can watch the keynote again, grad roundtables, and any of the other sessions. And otherwise, I'm looking